Good Sunday morning. A Chinese spy balloon has set off a diplomatic crisis, deepening mistrust between the United States and China and triggering political finger-pointing here at home before being shot down on Saturday. The U.S. military first detected the balloon over Alaska's Aleutian Islands last Saturday. It was spotted by civilians on Wednesday over Billings, Montana. Montana, by the way, is also home to Malmstrom Air Force Base, which houses 150 intercontinental ballistic missile silos. There were sightings of this balloon over Missouri and Kansas on Friday, and of course over the Carolinas on Saturday. The FAA had to close airspace and pause flights at 3 airports in order to allow the F-22 fighter jet to shoot down this balloon 6 miles off the Carolina coast with a single air-to-air missile. The dramatic takedown at 2:39 p.m. Saturday was caught on camera. China's foreign ministry declared its strong discontent and protest, calling it an overreaction, saying it retains the right to respond further. China had claimed the balloon was simply a civilian airship that was being used mainly for weather observation. But the administration responded that the surveillance balloon was used by China to monitor sensitive military sites and that it also contained surveillance equipment. On Friday, the Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, had to cancel his first official visit to China. He was set to arrive in Beijing last night.
The presence of this surveillance balloon over the United States in our skies is a clear violation of our sovereignty, a clear violation of international law, and clearly unacceptable. I can only imagine what the reaction would be in China if they were on the other end.
Now, before the balloon was taken down Saturday, Republicans on Capitol Hill were lashing out at President Biden for not acting sooner.
I don't think the Chinese Communist Party would hesitate to shoot down an American asset that was in their airspace.
This administration is keeping us in the dark and then claiming that they're doing what they're supposed to do.
They could have shot that balloon down, and the biggest risk might have been hitting a cow, a prairie dog, or an antelope.
After the balloon was shot down, Republicans praised the military for taking it down, but criticized President Biden for waiting too long. The back and forth over the spy balloon is just the latest escalation of U.S.-China tensions, as China has been trying to rehabilitate its global image post-COVID. Just in the last 2 weeks, an American general sent a memo predicting the U.S. will be at war with China in 2 years over Taiwan. And the Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin was in the Philippines on Thursday to announce a new military buildup and new uses of bases there by our.
We can welcome in the show then. Welcome to the Nick and CJ show. I'm one of your hosts. I'm CJ. What's up,
poppin'? Yeah, what's poppin', my friends, my family? We are back once again. We are back. A lot to discuss. CJ was holding it down on RBN. I had a lot of family stuff. This is a very festive time. My birthday, my niece's birthday. We had 2 moves, so give me some time to sit back and watch our country lose its fucking mind. I'm just vibing, CJ. I'm gonna take a few days, not trying to think about politics that much. I'm just vibing. The majority of the country vibing one way or another, right? We're hanging out with our family. Kansas City is very exciting because we got the Super Bowl that's coming up.
Oh yeah.
So everyone's having plans. Everyone talking yo, it's exciting. Everything's going on in the city. Meanwhile, in Washington D.C. bubble, everyone's freaking out over the China threat because now you have Xi Jinping, apparently the wind god now. Remember how Putin was the
weather god, something like
now
that.
Now Putin is the master of the wind. He sent a balloon up. He controlled the wind. You got a balloon that went from China across the Pacific Ocean, and to Canada. And then went to Montana because apparently there's a lot of important stuff to spy on in Montana. Xi Jinping and the Chinese Communist Party need the crucial information about the military structure of Montana. And then it went to Detroit. It was in my neighborhood, CJ. They want to see what's going on with the Chiefs game.
It was.
the spy balloon. Like, man, I want to see what's going on with Patrick Mahomes. So it came out with
Maybe it's the opposition. Maybe it's the team they're playing in the Super Bowl. They're trying to spy on Patrick Mahomes, and that's it. It's really the ginned up talk about it is just outrageous. And I'm gonna play when we get to the segment, and maybe we'll get to it soon. I'm gonna play Tucker Carlson, and when we're trying to teach the audience about propaganda, who do we go to? We're gonna go to Tucker, or we're gonna go to Joe?
The best.
Yes, so we're gonna go to Tucker, and parts of it is funny. It's almost funny to me, but
Dude,
the
this whole story
hysteria
is
he trying to
funny
gins
to me.
up. Yes,
It's so absurd. You have the right in Fox News pretending that Biden is weak on China now. Like, this is what we are. Biden, who reversed decades of Chinese trade policy, went further than Donald Trump even will go, who's shipping weapons to Taiwan, who supports Nancy Pelosi, and you now have Kevin McCarthy, who's scheduled to go to Taiwan later this year. You have 4 more military bases that is being built around the Philippines in order to get ready to go to war with China. But according to the right wing and these brainlets over there at Tucker Carlson and Fox News, they really believe that China is this unhinged threat that they have to go to war with. And that's why Jimmy Dore did a great service when he goes on, when Jimmy goes on Tucker Carlson and he tells them that China is not our enemy. That's a great thing. I have massive criticism of Tucker Carlson. I came out with a diss track on him, like not too long ago, like the first time, because I finally got to explain my position on him. But it's a good idea to go on his show. That's why I never criticized Jimmy for going on his show, because it's a good idea to go on the largest cable news network, especially the one who's pushing war against China, and telling them that China is not our enemy. That's a giant deal. And then you notice that Tucker Carlson cut him off early. He heard what Jimmy Dore had to say. He's like, China's not our enemy. Russia is not our enemy. And then Tucker Carlson like, oh shit, thank you, Jimmy Dore. Goodbye. And even Jimmy was like, fuck, I didn't even get a chance to plug the anti-war rally. I thought I'm gonna have a chance to plug this. And Tucker was like, man, I don't want to hear none of this anti-China.
If he said all of that and just took out China, he would have been okay.
Yeah.
Like if he could have said all of that about the Ukraine, but it cut off at the very end. Because I wanted you to hear this very last part. This is it's building up to the part I actually wanted you to hear. Let me see if it'll play. Let's listen.
And the Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin was in the Philippines on Thursday to announce a new military buildup and new uses of bases there by our military. China has tried to play both sides of Russia's assault on Ukraine, saying it is opposed to the war, but has been shipping Russia some military technology despite sanctions and despite denials that they're doing it. Meanwhile, Biden has doubled down on the Trump administration's policy of having a more aggressive competition economically with China. All of this, an acknowledgement that the decades that multiple presidential administrations bet on, that economic engagement with China would somehow push the country into democratic reforms, has been a complete failure. The president addressed the takedown of the balloon on his way to Camp David Saturday.
Yeah, you can go back and play that.
He said,
let me
just recap and then I'll replay it. Yeah, let me just say. He said that it had actually, let me just let it play it since I kind of lost it there. Let me see.
Yeah, I think I interrupted, so play it again.
No worries.
On Wednesday,
multiple presidential administrations.
This last sentence here.
And despite denials that they're doing it. Meanwhile, Biden has doubled down on the Trump administration's policy of having a more aggressive competition economically with China. All of this, an acknowledgement that the decades that multiple presidential administrations bet on, that economic engagement with China would somehow push the country into democratic reforms, has been a complete failure.
That sentence is completely absurd. That they're engaging with them economically so they can see how democracy works, so they can change their system, but that hasn't worked. Instead of saying capitalists shipped manufacturing over there because it was cheaper to do, and now that shit is coming back to bite us in the fucking ass. Go ahead, Nick, if you were going to say something.
This is unhinged. And this is a great comment. China is more democratic than the United States. They just had protests protesting China's COVID policy. And China's reaction to that was to scrap its COVID policy and go back to the table. It's much more democratic than the United States, which is a capitalist dictatorship. And China, everything they say, and we got a lot more clips to break down. Everything they say about China is a projection, which is actually what goes on in the United States. So you have China that is actually building relationships with India, with Russia, with South America, with Brazil and Lula. But then in their propaganda, they say it's China that is being isolated from the rest of the world. You have countries that are calling out the United States for arming Taiwan, and people see that the United States is being the aggressor, especially considering they got 4 military bases they about to set up. But then they say, "Oh my God, the world sees China as an aggressor because they have a civilian balloon floating around." CJ, that is what they wanted to convince us. And what I wanted to say as well in response to that clip, you see Chuck Todd and liberals brag about Biden being tough on China. This is one of them issues that expose the two-party duopoly and expose the red-blue game. Because you have Republicans, they say, "Oh my God, liberals and Biden, they are in the tank for China. They are weak on China." And liberals say, "No, we're not. We're not weak on China. Biden is tougher on China than Trump was." And now they're competing from the right position. We're the one that is more hardline against the Chinese Communist Party. No, we're the one who more likely to wage World War III. So you have Biden that is doing military exercises in Taiwan, having a military cooperation deal with Japan. Japan doubled its military budget. They increased their military presence in the region, but then they tell us that Joe Biden is weak on China. So when I see the right wing, and when they get to this very soon, when they say Biden is weak on China, when Tucker Carlson and these people say they're weak on China, when you have mostly Republican, like a lot of the Republican politicians that are saying Biden is being weak on this, the question that we need to ask them is, what do you want Biden to do that he has not done? This is when you see how unhinged they are. What do you propose that Biden do that he hasn't already done, which you say is already too hawkish? They want full-fledged war. That's why they out in the news saying, "Yeah, we all think we could be in war in China in a few years."
You think this is all a game?
Bro, Ron DeSantis is straight up like, he's a hardliner, anti-China. Like, I got a story I'm gonna do later. I'll pass you, CJ. I know you want to chime in. There's a story I'm gonna do later. I may tack it in at the end of this stream or next stream, where you have this dynamic in the Republican field where it's Trump versus the neocons. Well, Trump is saying stuff like, "We need to seek peace in Ukraine." Yeah, he had to tell a Carlson position where he said we need to go economic war with China, which is not good. But he's like, we shouldn't be escalating with them. But then look at the people who's running against them. You have Mike Pompeo, who's already said he's going to run China hardliner, Ukraine all in. Ron DeSantis, who all in on Latin American intervention in Venezuela, all in on anti-China. He's an anti-China unhinged maniac. And then you're gonna have, and once again, sorry, I'm gonna say this for later because there's an article.
No, and then you said Ron.
We have
Ron
Trump versus the neocons
and Haley.
Yeah, and this is why, and this is an important dynamic because this explains why the NATO left is as bad as foreign policy as they are, because they have to take the oppositional side as Donald Trump.
Right.
So and this ties into the Jamaal Bowman. This is like the intro, so we're gonna get these segments more in detail. When Jamaal Bowman AOC get caught on in Ukraine, when Ilhan Omar get caught on Ukraine, they can't take the rational peace position because they got to be the opposition to Trump. Anyway, we break that down later.
No, because this is such a reflection. This is such a reflection of that video again with Michael Brooks and Vivek, where they're talking about. So this is such a boutique, such a PMC thing. Intellectuals can't be on the same side of Donald Trump, so you have to take the position opposite of whatever he's at, which is such a non-intellectual thing, sort of to do. But let's quickly do some announcements today because I want to get into this story. I want to show you the Tucker Carlson thing, and I want you to show me your.
I'm gonna share this real quick. I think this is a good way to round off the intro segment, and then I'll pass it to you. Not too long. I just want to share this receipt to back up what I am saying, because a theme I'm gonna keep hitting on in this live stream is the right wingers who are pretending that Biden is weak on China as compared to who? Trump? Compared to what do you guys want? I'll just read the headline, subheadline I passed to you. It says, see a change. Biden reverses decades of Chinese trade policies. And they say, forget tariffs. Biden's actions to crack down on Beijing tech development will do more to hinder the Chinese economy and divide the two nations than Trump ever did. And they write this in Politico, and they're like, "Ha, got you, right wingers. We're more anti-China." Meanwhile, RB and we see this headline, we're like, they are saying it out loud. They are admitting it.
What if this
Go
is
ahead,
the
CJ.
dance? This is the dance that they're doing, and this is what they do. This is what this unit party do. You see how in the 90s, in the 80s, Republicans, crackheads, crack. We got to get police, more police. Who executed it? Bill Clinton. What's happening literally right now? You have
That's
Republicans saying, you're not doing enough. You're not, as he's going, exceeding. You see how that psychologically makes the listener think, wow, okay, well, what he's doing can't be that bad then. Even though it's a great escalation,
yes,
it is such a propaganda tactic. This means they're working in tandem here.
Yes, CJ, that's such
They're
a great
working
analysis.
in tandem. Go
No,
ahead,
that's perfect. I'll pass to you because that's literally the perfect analysis. That's exactly what they're doing.
They're working in
doing
tandem
a dance. I can't add anything better than that. Go ahead, CJ.
This is a dance. So let's go to announcements and get to some comments. There's a ton of comments, and then because we want to really get into this story, we kind of already, prefaced it enough with the introduction, but quickly, let's like the stream, everybody. We got 200 people here. Let's see if we can get 200 likes on the screen. So everybody hit that like button. Our Substack, join it if you want notifications when we go live. We had an unannounced one on, I think, Friday, or something like that. For unannounced streams, you'll make sure you're always up to date with our live streams. Also, our clips, you'll get notifications. And the added perk is you get access to our Discord, too, if you are a subscriber on our Substack. The other way to get access to our Discord is through our Patreon, which you're scrolling at the bottom. And this is the best way if you can contribute to RBN and what we're trying to do is through Patreon, $2 a month, $3 a month. I think that's the lowest I've seen is $2 a month. So whatever you could contribute, that would be great. If you can't, then Substack is a great way to stay in contact with us. Also, our email, updated, no longer using the Gmail. We have our own email account, info@revblacknetwork.com. Lastly, our website, revolutionaryblackoutnetwork.com. Check it out. Did you notice any super chats?
Yeah, I just pulled we got a few. I want to give a shout out to Biden for the super sticker. Always with the consistent super stickers, which we appreciate. And then we got $2 from Steve. Spy headlines reaction equal manufacturing consent. Well said, my friends. I go through just a few chats that I see here, and then you can pull some up as well, unless you have some other announcements. But China will bleed us dry like we are doing to Russia. We're not even bleeding Russia dry. I have a story where it was an anti-war anti-war publication where they explain how the West thought they was luring Russia into this trap, but it actually was the United States, because they explained how the Russian economy, the ruble stronger than ever, the Russian economy is doing strong. The UK economy is doing worse right now than it has been doing for the last 3 years. So the UK, remember CJ in last spring, they were talking all this shit like, yeah, nigga, we about to put sanctions, we about to tank the Russian economy. Now the UK economy is tanked. The former president was ousted because of this. The government is in shambles, and they said Putin mishandled, and he miscalculated. Everything the West said Putin is doing, China's doing, is reflected in the West. And Emmanuel Macron lost his majority. He got a minority now in legislation. He's weaker than ever in France. The West has politically miscalculated. But you're going to see as we go through some of these segments, they're going to pretend it's the other way around. They're going to pretend that China, that's embarrassed on the national stage, is proving that, like, literally everything that's happened to them, they're going to project on the enemies. And it's hilarious. So that's a great comment, but I just want to push back on that just a little bit. Big shout out to War Child. Jimmy always fun to talk to. Once again, I think it's very valuable that he go on Tucker and tell them that China is not their enemy. But anyway, thank you for the comments. I know CJ want to dive into it, so I'll pass it to you. And then we save the rest of the chat after this segment, guys.
Yeah, because I know there's gonna be a lot of chit chat just with this type of topic. Because one thing, I'm sorry. Go ahead, put that back up there. One thing, put Jay back up, that Jay comment.
Yeah, it's a good comment, Jay.
Yeah, let's read that before I get started. Russia is bleeding the West dry. LOL. Russia is set to have a higher GDP growth with lower inflation rate than the West. Who's laughing at us? I mean, they're laughing to the bank. It's so absurd to see this happening real time, and we can clearly see that the bully is making bad decisions here because they really don't have any other way to do nothing.
Putin's more popular than ever. You have Emmanuel Macron that lost a majority. Justin Trudeau faces protests and jeers all the time. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, one of the most unpopular presidents in modern history. The UK literally can't keep a prime minister. So who's failing? Like, if you look at it objectively. But sorry, CJ, I just want to add the great comment about Jay.
These are great. These are great points. Thanks, Jay. Jay's our social media person, so shout out to Jay. But what I was saying is, the Chinese spy balloon whole narrative and saga, just broadly speaking, before we kind of get into details, Nick, is such a revealing moment of the absurdity of what propaganda works with American public, the United States public. Like, they really have diving into this thing.
Yeah, I haven't seen any Tucker. I haven't seen any Tucker.
Wait till you see it.
I couldn't stomach it. I was like, yo, I gotta get Tucker on this one.
This is pre-shot down balloon. This is pre-shot down. I think the day before. I mean,
it's good that we go in order anyway. It's good. It's good order.
Yeah. So I do want to do that because the point of this is not to tell the story of what happened. I think everybody knows that. We're going to analyze how, and this is really the kid.
Hey, testing guys. Is that me or CJ? I don't know if that's me or CJ. I'm gonna get CJ a second to come back. I'll go to some comments though. I saw the. I'm gonna see if I can pull up that article while we wait here. Wait for CJ. I'm gonna show you guys how Russia actually pulled a trap on the West. So let me share my screen while CJ come back. I think it's CJ, right? Yeah, CJ froze. I'll see the comments now. Big shout out to my co-host. Big shout out to CJ. Big shout out to CJ. He out here. But I'm gonna just read a little bit of this article while we wait for CJ come back. U.S. laid trap for Russia. U.S. laid trap for Russia has trapped the West instead. A month before the February 2022 Russian invasion, CNN wrote that the United States was laying a trap to lure Russia into an economic, information, and proxy war. All three have failed for the United States. Now, they explained the economic war intended to spur Russians to overthrow their government has failed spectacularly. The ruble did not collapse despite sanctions on Russian central bank, nor has the economy. Instead, an alternative economic, commercial, and financial system that excludes the West is rising, with China, India, and Russia in the lead. And most of Asia, Africa, and Latin America are taking part. It is the final collapse of Western colonialism. Now you guys see why I cheer for this. I don't care about Putin as a leader. I don't care about these countries. We got a very similar interest of ending Western colonialism and U.S. unipolarity. And they continue. The sanctions backfired on the West, especially in Europe, which is why so many Western political leaders are facing the consequences. What's popping, Didi? CJ's still not back, so this will be a Nick rant stream, though. I got stories for you guys. I'm mad it interrupted my smoke break. What's popping, Didi? I'm gonna get to some Chinese stories as well. hopefully we get CJ back as well. I'm gonna show you guys this here. Hey, once that CJ come back, let's see if I can get some comments as well. Hunger strike until CJ is free. It's cool, huh? I just got finished. Let me take this. Let's just call it a cigarette for streaming purposes. I'm gonna take the cigarette out and let's get into the story. I got a story that we can do until CJ get back. Here are the military bases that the United States are opening in the Philippines. So we're gonna show you the right-wing propaganda where they are pretending that China has been offensive. And I'm gonna show you a few MSNBC clips as well and their rhetoric on China. And they want to paint this narrative that China is this rogue state and they are isolating themselves from the global economy and the global community, even though it's the exact opposite. You have 80% of the global population that's on board with doing trade with China and expanding business with BRICS. And despite this air balloon incident, and I'm gonna show you the segment from MSNBC where they admit that, hey, we do the same thing in other countries all the time. This is standard CIA shit, standard state operation. You have CIA operations, you have CIA cyber attacks into Russian infrastructure that they admitted to. So this is standard state operation procedure. And they admit this on MSNBC, but this is what the United States is doing to probe Russia. They try and probe China into war. And this is why it's so absurd that you have members on the right wing that say stuff like Biden is weak on China, even though Biden is reversing trade policies that even Donald Trump wouldn't touch. And at the time, liberals were like, oh my God, Donald Trump is about to destabilize the global economy and start World War III because of his tariffs on Chinese goods, which is nothing compared to what the United States is pushing for now. You also have them pushing the red line on China, on Taiwan, and their strategy is essentially do something to us. I dare you. Yeah, we're going to send Nancy Pelosi down there. Yeah, we're going to send Kevin McCarthy down there later this summer. Yeah, we're going to send weapons down there. Yeah, we're going to do photo ops and prop up the political party that supports the separatist movements. But you guys better stay calm and accept that attack on your sovereignty. But they want us to turn around and say, oh my God, there's a balloon in the sky. We should be worried that there's a balloon in the sky compared to what we are doing. For the liberals in the back, One China is a long-standing U.S. accepted policy. The United States is supposed to acknowledge Taiwan as part of China. Taiwan, who China lost because of Japanese imperialism. So you have liberals that apologize for Japanese imperialism when they claim that Taiwan is not part of China. Taiwan benefits from the economic development and trade that they do with China. There have been a long-standing cultural tradition that goes back hundreds of years between China and Taiwan. There is no cultural connection between the United States and Hawaii. Ask indigenous Hawaiian people about the connections between settlers and the Hawaiian king, queen, and the indigenous people. Indigenous Hawaiians ask for sovereignty, independence to this day. Imagine if you had Xi Jinping and you had Putin that was meeting with Hawaiian separatist leaders, Texas separatist leaders. Can you imagine the freak out? Can you imagine the massive escalation? So not only do we do that to China, we then do this. U.S. to open 4 new sites in the Philippines, accelerating pivot to Asia. So this is one of the new escalatory steps the United States is pushing for to escalate against China as well. Welcome back, CJ. I just interjected the story. I just interjected that article while you was gone, but welcome back.
Yeah, I was. I don't know. Just I swear something's going on that they know when I stream because nobody's here and it just stops and for no reason. But but we can continue. So this is Tucker. So if it stops again, you know what's happening. It just stops. So here's Tucker, and this is the segment I wanted to show you and get your reaction. I think you say you haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen none Tucker segments on the balloon yet.
Without borders, you can't have a country if you don't have borders. But that's also
here we go,
which is itself a kind of border. So maintaining control of the skies over the United States, deciding who comes in and out and on what terms, is one of the most basic duties of the Pentagon and has been since aviation began. If you were to fly your Cessna into restricted airspace in parts of this country, the U.S. military would scramble jets and they might shoot you down. So it's not a small infraction. Unless, of course, you happen to be the Chinese government and you're operating an enormous white dirigible designed to spy on American nuclear installations. In that case, you could relax. You've got friends at the White House. Absolutely nothing is going to happen to you. Now, that's not an imaginary scenario. We're not guessing. We know it's true.
So he's obviously, this is what you were referring to earlier. He's obviously trying to downplay or act like Joe Biden is not doing anything or is very soft on China because he's saying, by him saying, oh, you have a friend in the White House. Let's continue. Oh, I gotta press the button.
It's true because we're seeing it right now. As you've doubtless heard, an enormous spy balloon the size of several school buses has floated over from central China. It's currently, we think, drifting across the continental United States. Yesterday, it passed over Malmstrom Air Force Base in Montana. That's one of only 3 places in this country that houses Minuteman III intercontinental ballistic missiles. By this afternoon, the Chinese spy balloon had made it to Kansas City. And there, over the skies of the pilot flying a private plane at 47,000 feet.
The Chinese was here spying on the Chiefs game.
All right.
The Chinese spy balloon. Derelict balloon adrift, he said, in a notice to other nearby pilots. But it was not a derelict balloon. It was a balloon being controlled by China. In other words, here we have a foreign military aircraft over
foreign military aircraft.
And the people like Tucker and the right-wing people saying the Chinese people are sending a balloon because they want to launch a secret EMP that would target our electronics. I'm like, dude, this country is full of schizophrenics or something, man. Like, these people are crazy. They are crazy. We'll continue.
But to just since we have a pause here, I can make this point here. But this is all the beginning. The reason I say this, I think this is the beginning of the propaganda campaign for war, is you have to build the public up, build up their hatred, so they don't push back on you spending billions and billions of dollars on a war. So Russia has been more over the years for decades have already been vilified. So that's a lot easier sell for Ukraine, but for China, there has to be a buildup in these. So you're gonna start having these stories where it'll be like, "What? Why are you guys doing this, China?" Like these stories where Americans are gonna be like, "What? Why are they doing this?" Because they're trying to put in their head, "Yeah, they're trying to do something to us." Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, why you guys think? And this is why I've been calling out Tucker for this for months now. Why you guys think that he's been doing these unhinged anti-Chinese propaganda segments? Because he explained earlier that even though he said he don't want a hot war, he said he still want an economic war with China. Why do we want an economic war with China? That's such a capitalist mindset. Why do we want to compete against them instead of cooperate to uplift both of our global working, the global working class and the working class of both countries? So in order to sell the idea that China is our enemy and we must compete against them, you have to do constant anti-Chinese propaganda. And the real reason why capitalists must do this, and this is why capitalism must be defeated, is because instead of cooperation, they have to dominate. There can't be any competition. There can't be any example of an alternative system working. We have a market socialist system where the banks are ran by the government. That's how people got housing in China for a very low cost. Like they have a completely different economic model than we do. So the capitalist mindset is we can't show people any working alternative because we can't even get people to question or even think about any other mode of production. So I'm asking you guys, how did this like competition, how this ideology that capitalists have, how does that help you in your life? Like, how did this dick measuring contest that capitalists want to prove their ideology is the strongest of them all, how does that improve the quality of your life? It does not. But go ahead, CJ.
Well, that's such a great point. Let's listen to some more Tucker.
Over our country, spying on our critical defense installations and posing a threat to civilian aviation. That seems like a big deal. If you want to know how big a deal, consider how would we respond if Putin were doing this? If this were a Russian spy balloon? Well, you'd have the world's shortest news story. Russian spy balloon spotted offshore. Entire U.S. Air Force mobilized. Balloon reduced to vapor in seconds. So no, there would not be a lot of debate about what to do about a Russian spy balloon. We'd kill it instantly, as you would any hostile foreign intrusion.
You see
so
now.
The critique, go ahead. We were going to talk.
My point is short past Steve, because you guys see how I told you Russia. Tucker Carlson, even though he's good on Ukraine and Russia, his criticism of U.S. foreign policy is we shouldn't be Russia because we should be spending that on China. That is not the anti-imperialist like opinion and direction. The anti-imperialist position is that we should not provoke war in Ukraine and Russia because we need to respect country sovereignty and allow regional conflicts to play themselves out. And when it comes to China, we got to support and respect China's sovereignty as well. They're like, no, we should be more focused on our resources. We need to not invest on the war on terror because that failed. We need not to prop up the Ukraine war because Ukraine have no geopolitical significance to the United States. We need to spend all that resources going to war with China. That is not the anti-imperialist position. We need to lead by example. We need to build the global working class through cooperation, trade, exchange of culture, exchange of each other's values. Lead by example, not by cultural imperialism or by cultural domination as well. We'll go ahead, CJ.
Yeah, just imagine if the United States was actually spreading good things. Imagine if that was actually happening. Like,
we're giving debt the way that China's doing.
Yeah, like imagine like feeding people, like wiping away debt, like you said. It's just unreal. But let's listen a little more to, because he turns up the heat. Just a second here.
But things turn out to be a little different when it's a Chinese spy balloon. As far as we know, Vladimir Putin has never sent cash to Joe Biden's crackhead son. He probably should have. That would have been a very wise investment in retrospect. The Chinese government, long thinking as always, did send cash to Joe Biden's crackhead son, and apparently to Joe Biden himself. And that paid off. Watch some robot from the Pentagon tell you that you have no right to know anything about this Chinese spy balloon. You think you're a citizen or something? Here it is.
Position of the balloon classified?
Phil, right now, what we're not going to do is get into a hour-by-hour location of the balloon. Again, we're monitoring it closely. As I mentioned, right now, it's over the center of the continental United States. That's about as specific as I'm going to get.
But I understand it might be inconvenient, but does the public not have a right to know if the balloon
public
is over
certainly
their state?
has the ability to look up in the sky and
no,
see where the balloon is.
Balloon. Cops kill 3 people per day, man. The U.S. government is spying on us. Like, we know our government is spying on us. And you guys worry about some hypothetical Chinese balloon over Montana?
Do people know they're spying on us? Does the average person know?
Even Tucker would do segments talking about how we spying on us. On how the United States is spying on their own citizens. How we have
people are okay with that. Or they feel like they're powerless against stopping it. Or they feel like I'll give up my right in order because I'm so fearful of all the bad guys that my government is telling me about. I'm so fearful I'm willing to give up. What bucket do you think most Americans, or how would you break it down?
I think most Americans don't give a shit about this. Like, people gotta remember that, like, even Tucker Carlson, who kills it, I think I saw a number of like 4 million. Like, he get 4 million prime time. I may be super wrong, but that's like, who cares? like who cares about the number, right? But you hear what I'm saying? Like, he get a few million views, but how much of that is actually the population? CNN ratings have tanked. So these people, their consent is manufactured, and they're like, oh my god, Chinese balloons. I was curious. I was looking on right-wing Twitter. I was looking at some right-wing commentators, And I saw some clips that was like, oh my God, Biden's so weak. If I was there, I'd get my shotgun and I would shoot the balloon out the sky. Like, goddamn, liberals so weak on China. I'm like, dude, you got these people who are desperate to trying to get the American people who literally struggling to keep the lights on, to get their kids through the day, who worry about working their jobs. And these people who live these privileged existence, these millionaires like Tucker Carlson, the people who don't have to worry about goddamn thing, they're not worried about the government spying on them. They're not worried about the police ever killing them because they're the people they serve. So they here to manufacture your panic over the other. That is what the capitalists benefit from. You worry about China, worry about Russia, worry about these people instead of the heist that we are doing right in front of your face. And that was Tucker is being complicit with. Which is why, even though and people give him a lot of credit for his good takes, which, okay, fair enough, you wouldn't give him credit. I wouldn't do that because he's playing a very specific role, and those good takes have a purpose. He's good on Ukraine because he wanted us to spend that money on Ukraine on investing the economic war in China. That is not the anti-imperialist position. But anyway, sorry, go ahead, CJ.
Yeah, so, I'll save my next comment for this.
The public has the right to look at the sky. Go stare at the sun. That's what the guy just said. What you didn't hear was a lecture about how the Chinese military is a threat to our democracy and our American way of life. It's not like the Chinese invaded Ukraine. No, just our country. So no big deal. Stop asking questions.
That's funny.
Joe Biden, of course.
Comparing the Russian army invading Ukraine with the balloon invading us is crazy. But that is classic. That is classic propaganda, and he slips it in there so nonchalantly. It was like, yeah, it's like one sentence. You get what I'm saying? It's like it's not any space to be like, this is a question. This is a statement telling you what's happening. So let's continue here. Wait, gotta push it.
Of course, took that very same position today. Watch.
Remember what the economy was like when I got here? Jobs were hemorrhaging. Inflation was rising. We weren't manufacturing a damn thing here. We were in real economic difficulty. That's why I don't. Thank you.
Mr. President, when and how will you remain the balloon? When and how will you remain the balloon, Mr. President?
Notice the calm smiles. Walk this way, Mr. President. They knew they weren't going to answer questions on that. And it raises a much bigger question, which is why? What's going on here? What else do they know but refuse to tell us? Well, today, Pentagon sources conceded that the Biden administration has actually been tracking this Chinese spy balloon for months since it left China. That means they watched it float over the Pacific, they watched it pass over the Aleutian Islands and into American airspace. And at any time, they could have shot it down over the water, by the way, risking no life on the ground. But they didn't do that. Why didn't they do that? No one will say. Instead,
why did they do that? No one will say, Nick.
So you will see, because I'm glad you showed this. I'm going to interject this MSNBC clip because I want to analyze the other side. Tucker Carlson, who sounds like Joyanne Reed now. Tucker Carlson, who sounds like Simone Sanders. So Tucker Carlson is pretending because he knows his audience is very tribal. They probably don't watch MSNBC and CNN. So they pretending that these people are weak on China. I'm going to show you a MSNBC segment. I got a CNN segment on tap as well that show you that he's bullshitting. I'm going to show you the segment where they literally fear-mongering over China as well. And they explain, Tucker said they don't got no explanation for this. So what they said the reason why they didn't want to shoot the balloon down because for one, they didn't want any environmental damage, anyone harmed, but also they want to do recon on the balloon. They want to gather intel on it, and also they benefit PR-wise in terms of international relationship by dragging this out by saying, "Oh my God, China, how dare you!" And then Blinken pulls out of the meeting. Blinken and Xi had a meeting scheduled for the first time. A Secretary of State was about to meet with Xi Jinping since 2018. So they use this as an excuse to pull out of that meeting and escalate tensions with China. So Biden and the Democrats are like, you moronic Republicans, we are playing 4D chess on escalating tensions against China. You guys are literally want to run into it with like slack jaw baboons. Meanwhile, they're playing 4D chess on escalating tensions. So
do they like is this like disrespect for them to pull out? Is that how they're looking at an escalation, or this is part of the theater to sell to the American population that this is something big? Like, do you think that's it, or what do you stand on?
Also, the right wing, they want to say that Biden is in the tank with Xi Jinping in China because of Hunter Biden and Bennett's connections that he got with China. So they trying to use they using any they will use any story. They say, oh, so the Chinese spy balloon, the reason why Biden shoot down immediately is because he's in the tank with China and he helping China gather the intel. And I know because this is the op-ed I did. I'm not Tug Carlson in particular, but this is what a lot of them are saying. So I want to interject this other segment because I want to show you guys the other side, and it's also kind of show you guys how ridiculous Tucker is kind of being. We're pretending that Democrats are weak on China. So I have two, but I might play one and may say the other one for later, depending on time. We see because it's only 6 minutes long, so not a long segment. Let's watch it, and I want to break down. I want to fix the audio, and then I'm gonna break down exactly what they are doing. They're doing anti-China rhetoric and pro-war China fever, escalating pro-war China fever, but from the liberal angle. So listen to this garbage.
The United States has shot down the Chinese balloon that had been hovering over the country. President Biden confirmed the military action about an hour ago.
The internet.
Let's bring in.
I tried to say it earlier, but the website, I can't pull up the website.
Is an NBC News Korean affairs analyst and a former director
I'm using my phone right now.
National
So
Security.
I thought maybe I was waiting for
Thank you so much.
Okay, CJ. I'm gonna meet you, CJ, real quick.
For being with us, Victor. This is just really all happening at a very, I would argue, inopportune time for U.S.-Chinese relations. What is your read of this? And particularly if you could respond to this thread of the United States today, officials, from military officials to U.S. government officials, talking about the violation of U.S. sovereignty by the Chinese government with this balloon.
Yeah, so a couple of things. The first is that, yes, this is a direct violation of U.S. airspace, U.S. sovereignty.
I'm going to show you guys another segment from CNN, and what the liberal professional managerial class is doing is particularly disgusting. They keep bringing on people of Asian descent on their segments to spread anti-Chinese propaganda. Like this guy here. They bring this guy on, and you're going to see throughout the segment, to tell you why China is the worst thing ever. And CNN does another segment where they bring another East Asian on who explains how China is the worst thing ever. They keep doing, and they have Simone Sanders, a black woman, here to tell black people why we shouldn't be afraid of our white supremacist government, our police state, our capitalist state. We should be afraid of the Chinese.
Sovereignty. While China has been doing a number of things in the East Asian region with regard to the territorial space or disputed territorial airspace and sea of other countries, this is the most direct violation of the United States. And the U.S. action to take down this balloon is sort of the first real kinetic act against a Chinese asset, in this rising U.S.-China competition. So there's a lot of symbolism associated with this, given the competition between the United States and China.
A lot of symbolism. I'm wondering your thoughts about the cancellation of Secretary Blinken's trip to meet with President Xi Jinping in China. Do you think that we will see Secretary Blinken make an overture again sometime soon, or will other U.S. officials, notably maybe the National Security Advisor to the president, be making a trip instead to send a message?
Oh, I think Secretary Blinken will go now that they've shot this thing down, and will collect intelligence on it, and will explain everything that China was trying to do with it. I mean, I think he'll go. I mean, it's an important trip because the U.S.-China relationship is escalating. It's becoming extremely tense. Biden and the Chinese leader met in Indonesia in November to try to put guardrails on the relationship. And Blinken's trip was the first since Mike Pompeo went in 2018 to try to, implement this idea of putting guardrails on the relationship. So China needed this visit actually quite badly. And this balloon situation just was extremely embarrassing for them. Blinken couldn't go, but now he can go, and I think he will, give the démarche on this intelligence balloon. But then
they keep doing this talking point where they are saying this balloon is embarrassing for China. No, the only thing that is embarrassing in this situation is your guys' unhinged reaction to it. Everyone in the world is laughing at you guys, and I'm talking about 80% of the world population. There is 20% of the European colonizing force that support NATO. I'm talking about Germany, France, the United States. You have these Western European countries supportive of this. Meanwhile, the rest of the world is looking at the West as the clowns that they are. So they keep pretending this is embarrassing for China. It's not embarrassing for China at all. And the reason why China wants this meeting, and they say, well, this is a big blow because China wants this meeting. China wants this meeting. Why do you think they wanted the meeting, CJ? They want the meeting because they're trying to get the United States to chill the fuck out.
And I think they know that. I think they know that because they could have brought up this balloon a week ago, days ago, 2 weeks ago. They could have brought this up since they've been tracking it, Nick. They could have brought this up and said, hey, blah, blah, blah. They wait exactly at the meeting. This is all about the high. I bet they have a Hollywood director that's kind of involved in it. This is all about building climax. And it's like, oh, on my way. Oh, no, I'm not. There's a Chinese spy balloon. Like, if this is all about building climax, and this is the beginning of the campaign, I'm telling you, of different things. This is going to be the first thing. And then it'll be like, oh, China is doing this. They're trying to attack our computer systems. They're trying to do this. There's going to be another slip up or something that's going to happen.
They're just lying. They're lying. And once again, the right wing just saying with no evidence whatsoever, Chinese EMP attack. Where's this coming from? Doug Carlson, like they're spying on military infrastructure. They're looking at people's lawns in Montana. So you guys know that China has satellites, right? You guys realize that Google Earth is an app that you can use. You can literally go on Google Earth, scroll over Montana, and see the same fucking thing that the balloon did. It's so absurd, and it's ridiculous that these people are pretending this is an embarrassment on China. And so, back to my point, I will continue the video because it's not a long segment. I won't continue. I'll continue the video.
Actually, So I even saw John Brennan. You know, what is he? Ex-CIA director and some other, other positions he's been in. Even he came on, Nick. They had Leon Panetta come on CNN. They're bringing out the heavyweights for this, Nick. Heavyweights for a balloon.
It's a full court press. Like once again, I may play the CNN clip. I'm playing it based on time. Because I can always do it for a segment later, but because there's so much to analyze on this. I'm during my time off, I've been watching these Western talking heads lose their goddamn mind. Let's continue the video because I still got a lot more to add, but I don't want this segment to be too long, so I'll just play it.
And focus on the issues that matter to the United States, like defense of Taiwan, human rights, export controls on semiconductors and other commanding heights technology.
This guy is some reporter. Based on the what they said about, I saw the Jumbotron. Yeah, this is 255. So this is Victor Cha, Korean Affairs Analysis. And CJ, I mentioned earlier, you see how disgusting it is they bring this guy on? And I don't want to make any assumptions. That's why I'm being very vague here. Just say this guy of East Asian descent, and they brought the same for CNN. Another CNN segment I'm gonna show you guys later. I can even show you the screenshot. They bring another person from East Asian descent to tell you guys about how China is bad, about how we need to defend Taiwan. You see how?
Oh my God, they do this all the freaking time.
Yeah, look at this.
And it's to mask racism. They do. It's so clear. It's to mask the state. We're not being racist. Look, there's a person right here of East Asian descent. He's saying it too. They do this with black people when it's some sort of police brutality. There's a black person spokesman. They do this all the time. It's so that they can say, "See, we're not racist," or "This is not racist." Whatever the thing is. Go ahead.
And that's as disgusting as anything conservatives do. And I'm not playing this video yet, but you see, they got this reporter of East Asian descent, And I watched this one already. She's here to tell you how bad China is. CNN, MSNBC, and the Democratic liberal media, they're doing a strategy where we're gonna bring, like, if you want to make it as a reporter, I told you guys, if I was a really a grifter, I would do what Terrence Williams and Candace Owens is doing, being a black Trump supporter. Like, that's
Terrence
where the fucking money.
That's a new one for me. I don't know.
Like, yeah, like that's where the money is at, son. Right? There's no money being a black Marxist, right? If you're of East Asian descent, if you want to make it in politics, if you want to make it up the corporate ladder, just be anti-China, be extremely anti-DPRK, be pro-Taiwan separatist, and CNN and MSNBC will be jumping at joy to invite you on. If you are someone like Carla Jha, who we had on, who is of East Asian descent, who debunks Western propaganda against the Chinese Communist Party, you will never see them on these segments, right? So anyway, I want to go back to this because I don't want this segment to go too much longer. I think I was at 355, right? 255, I think. Yeah, I'll go back 255. And then we only have 3 minutes left, so I'll let it play, and then we can analyze it. And I'll pass it to you for your part, CJ.
Defense of Taiwan, human rights, export controls on semiconductors and other commanding heights technology against the Chinese.
You noted that this balloon situation was an embarrassment. I think lots of folks use that term this week.
Lots of people.
Also, what happened this week, their global infrastructure efforts. There's a Wall Street Journal story talking about the headline is China's global mega projects are falling apart. This seems like just a terrible PR week for the Chinese government, but also there are real international implications for their relationships. What are your thoughts there?
What are you talking about?
It's a really good question, and it's a good point. I mean, we often see China's like standing 100 feet tall, but in the last few months, major setbacks for President Xi Jinping. First, the COVID lockdown completely failed after people protested, and they just rapidly reversed the policy and now have huge.
So people protested against the government, and they respond in a democratic way. Meanwhile, we got protests in the United States. We have protests in Cop City where they are labeling Americans as domestic terrorists. Protesters are being killed. And if you was an honest reporter, you would do a segment like, oh my God, isn't this how the United States, signs that the United States is falling apart? I'm showing this part because this is the propaganda technique where they do, where they're like, oh my God, our enemy is unbelievably weak, but also unbelievably strong. We must take them on at the same time. Oh my God, things are falling apart in China. As their economy continues to do better than us, their quality of life is rising above our quality of life. Their education is better, their infrastructure is better, but China is falling apart while we're doing great. This is what the liberal propaganda is. Let's continue, not too much longer.
Cases of COVID inside the country without the right vaccine infrastructure. They're having an economic slowdown. The mega projects are referring to these things called the Belt and Road Initiative, where these massive capital financial projects, infrastructure projects that are offered to do in the global south that are all sort of falling apart now. And then on top of that,
they're trying to tell people that the Belt and Road Initiative and it's falling apart. It's stronger than ever. Everything this guy is saying is the exact opposite.
Why?
It's really unbelievable. I'll let it keep playing, but it's literally unbelievable.
Had this balloon situation happen just when, arguably the two most important countries in the world were going to meet, is again, hugely embarrassing for the Chinese. So the Chinese don't stand 100 feet tall and not nearly that tall, and they're clearly having problems.
Mr. Cha, I think that there are some people watching right now who would say, okay, they shot the balloon down, got it, competition, not conflict, all right. But why should everyday Americans who don't do foreign policy right, who aren't keyed in on this issue on a regular basis,
now, this is the part I really wanted to show for you guys, CJ. So Simone Sanders asked actually a decent question here to this person. Why should the American people care about a fucking balloon from China? What does this have to do with everyone's everyday life? And listen to this guy's complete non-answer. So I'll go back to the question because I want you guys to hear this part.
Everyday Americans who don't do foreign policy right, who aren't keyed in on this issue on a regular basis, why should they care about this particular, the relations between China and the United States?
Well, I mean, in terms of the balloon, it shows the sort of massive intelligence gathering campaign that China executes against the United States. And this is just one small part of it. This is a balloon, but they have surveillance satellites that are over the United States 24/7 trying to collect information. I mean, that's the nature of competition.
So they have if you just admit they have satellites, this is nothing new. Like, see, their common sense will kick in every once in a while when they like snap out propaganda. I'm like, yeah, I know they got satellites too. But the question is, why should the American people care when our government is spying on us? When they would admit that our government is doing the same to theirs.
Between two great powers in the international system. So I guess we expect to see some of that. But the other aspect is that China engages in massive disinformation around the world. They will tell the rest of the world that this was a defenseless weather balloon that the United States made a big deal out of, even though
that's exactly what they did.
China wages massive disinformation campaigns by telling people that we're freaking out over a balloon as we freak out over a balloon. So once again, the question is, why should we care about this? His answer thus far is because China lies about our lies. Why should you care about that? Let's continue because we only got a little bit left, and I'll pass to you, TJ.
Defenseless weather balloon that the United States made a big deal out of, even though it's a spy balloon, and they're doing the same thing in Ukraine, saying that the war is all the fault of the United States and NATO. So, I mean, if anything, it should awake Americans.
So China is telling the truth. They're like, oh my God, China's not joining our unhinged anti-Russia campaign in Ukraine because they know that we literally started the war, that we propped up the Nazi regime in 2014 when we supported the Maidan coup. He's like,
80% of the world population is against this. 80% of the world population, isn't that what you always quote it?
So he's saying China's doing this this misinformation campaign. They keep going in Africa and telling the United States of the crimes that they did against them. They keep exposing our crimes to people. That's what his answer is. Of course, China, like the rest of the world, is like, hey guys, have you guys seen how unhinged the United States has been the last few decades? Right? Let's continue. Only 30 more seconds. Only 30 more seconds left.
To the fact that there is this massive effort by the Chinese against the U.S.
Victor Cha, thank you so much. We love the experts who can break it down for us. Appreciate your time.
Experts. So this step essentially over.
They're always very vague in when they talking about China as a threat. It's just a threat. China's massive. They use these adjectives, and it seems very overblown for what's happening. Massive threat. Remember, Tucker Carlson called it a military device or military machinery or something.
You see how they brought this guy of East Asian descent on to be the quote unquote expert on China, but he couldn't even answer the question. You would think a very basic one, right? Like, why should the American people care about China spy balloons? And his response was, man, China keep talking shit about us, man. That's what China you should care because China talk shit about us. I got a show where I talk shit about the United States all the time. Why we at barbershop conversations talk shit about the United States all the time? Why should we care about this? Once again, if you had the capitalist mindset, it's about shutting down any competing models. But go ahead, CJ. I'll pass back to you.
Yeah, I mean, this is all one segment, most likely, Aaron, if you're watching. But so let's kind of wrap it up with an article. So we kind of did the visual part. This kind of sums up what we're talking about here. U.S. media whips up anti-China or Chinese hysteria over balloon flight. Over the past 4 days, the American population has been subject to a barrage of war propaganda over the claim that China sent a huge balloon visible to the naked eye to spy on U.S. nuclear bases. The media machine is operating at full throttle since the balloon's existence was publicly announced last week. Breathless coverage has been provided, minute by minute updates on the progress of the floating white balloon as it slowly traversed across the continental United States. the story led every newspaper for days, was the first item on evening news broadcast, and dominated 24-hour cable network. News networks. And I'll pause there. And that's the point. Like, everybody, Nick, participated in this.
Yeah.
It seems like everybody got the bat signal. Hey, it's time. We're going after China. It's time. Story. Break. Whatever they do to cause their plan to execute. Go ahead, Nick.
Dictators wish they had this kind of media compliance, where we showed you MSNBC, their version of Russian fear mongering. You guys saw with the number one rated cable news host, the way he China fear mongers. Imagine the power that comes from this central planning model, the capitalist mode of production, where you have the ruling class and the government that sends a memo to every single person in media, say, you get on board on this. And you already know, it's not even like they got to twist their arm. They're like, if you don't do this, your career is over. What are you going to do? You're going to go on air and not and tell the truth about this? Anyone who went on air and told the truth about the China balloon incident, their career is over. And that's how we control the media, which is way more powerful than any other state media apparatus. But go ahead, CJ.
Yeah, you can go and check this article out. It's U.S. media whips up anti-China or Chinese hysteria over a balloon fight. It's by Andre Damon, and it's not even a day old. It's on the World Socialist website. I won't read all of it, but that's a good segment. I think we covered all of the sort of hysteria, both like propaganda, a bunch of propaganda.
That's a good hour
going
segment.
on.
Because obviously I'm gonna keep following this story because I still got a lot. Like I'm probably gonna do a segment on this for Nick and Night on Wednesday as well. We can also do the LC Jamaal segment unless you have another one.
No, I was just gonna say, let me do a couple announcements.
Yeah,
can you prep for that, or do you have something to start with? I have articles to add to once you.
Wait, do some announcements. We do some announcements. I'll take a quick break. And
absolutely. All right, so let's make sure we have a bunch of new people watching since we got started. So let's make sure we everybody's hitting that like button. It helps bring in more people into the chat, which keeps the chat popping. It's something we take pride in. Our chats are known for having good, pretty decent discussions. So we want to keep that tradition going. So 246 likes right now. We have more than 100 more people that watching right now. So if we can get 100 more people to hit that like button, that'll bring us to 350. So let's get to 350 likes, everybody. And we have a bunch of comrades in the comments. If you can hype people up to like the stream, get us to 350. The next thing, Substack. If you would like to get notifications when we go live, you also want to get notifications when we drop clips, join our Substack. And when we do that, we send you an email. You can hit the click the link from the email, and it tells you all the topics we're talking about, and usually the start time of the stream or the premiere time of the clip. The other thing is we actually almost are at 30,100. So we're at 30,660 subscribers before we started the stream. That's what I counted. So if you're a new subscriber, welcome. If you're here just watching, subscribe. Even if you don't agree with everything we say, I think you enjoy the conversation. And then last two things, here's our email if you need to contact us. And here is our website, revolutionaryblackoutnetwork.com for those that are just listening. And let me say the email for those that are just listening too. info@revblacknetwork.com. I don't know if there's any more super chats we can cover before we get. Let me just see. I don't think no. All right. So yeah, we can get into the Jamaal story, but first, let me pop this up here. Love this graphic, and somebody made mention, I meant to do this earlier, but that's the reference of the show Get Smart in the background, he was a spy, but it was like a bumbling spy. You see him on the left there also. So somebody said in the comments, like, what is it a reference to? So that's what it is a reference to. All right, Nick. We can start.
Yeah,
with
you can get you can get the video ready. I'll preface it just shortly.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll allow you to play it. So, big shout out to Lucy, because I think it was her, and I think I gotta make sure I remember exactly who did it, so I can give proper shout. Yeah, Roger Meadows and Lucy. Roger Meadows and Lucy, I think, are the people in the video. That's based on our conversation when we talked to Savvy. So they're from AOC district. People calling her out. Same way Jay, someone who used to work on AOC's campaign, what the professional managerial class at Boutique Left has been doing. They say, "Oh my God, you guys are just internet grifters. People in their district love them." Meanwhile, they can't even fill up a coffee house. See, you remember how Bernie Sanders used to have literally, despite all criticism of Bernie, this motherfucker, remember the New York Park rally? This motherfucker used to fill like stadiums and shit. The crowds he would pull, the energy of the Bernie movement was real. That shit is dead. The Boutique Left, the DSA Left has been so horrible. Workers are not feeling this shit at all. So for one, like the same thing when you saw AOC get called out before, for one, no one there. You're gonna know, and I'm saying this as well because they get called out for supporting war. They're war pigs who support war, and then you immediately see what we have seen countless times, CJ. Every single time we see the plants in the audience that's here to calm everyone down, to get the crowd back together. So I'm kind of spoiling it because
I hate them.
The reason why I'm saying this because you guys gonna see it in the video. I'm gonna explain more. These are not ordinary people that's showing up to the events. These are AOC people, her staffers, and there are DFC people that show up because they show up at DFC events. The ordinary proletariat is completely detached from the politics of the Boutique Left. So what I said, CJ, if you're ready, we can pull the video up because I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here. But it's good to see this trend. This shows why AOC is extremely unpopular. As unpopular as Hillary Clinton, Kamala Harris, and their ilk, right? She do not have the support of her people. Even the people in her districts are calling her out. So
I am able to pull up the video, not on Twitter for whatever reason. My Twitter is not working.
I had the video here right here too.
But I have the video on YouTube. Oh, you can play it or
I can play it because I got the video up here anyway. Because not too long. So here's the video.
I'm locked out of my Twitter right now.
So my friend Daniel Burke, I want to make sure I get a private shout out. I don't know this account, but RTSG as well. They went to a Democrat fundraiser hosted by AOC and Chuck Schumer.
Oh my God.
I don't know why I did not. I literally did. My eyes glanced over this at first. But why are you doing a fundraiser hosted with? This is how you know they lost the working class.
What is she doing? What is she doing?
This makes I have no words. How people don't see through this. But this is the video, and you're gonna see a lot. When I first watched, I saw this earlier this morning. So this is my second viewing. I'm not going completely blind. I am seeing the same tactics, CJ. The same tactics used over and over. And it seems like AOC, Jamaal Bowman, and these people, they have contingency plans in place now. They're learning. They're not learning how to resist the establishment. They're learning how to resist protesters, calling them out for being pro-war. So I'll preface this and let's watch the video.
Congress members, when are you going to pull us back from the verge of nuclear war? In October.
Oh, Jesus Christ. We got someone serious here. Oh, my God. We're over here trying to fuck around. We're over here trying to vibe, have fun. Yeah, coffee shop, nigga. We trying to have fun. There's someone serious. Bring down the vibes. Bringing up our corruption. God damn it.
These progressives said there's a threat of nuclear war. We need to sue for peace between Russia and Ukraine. They retracted it. When will you come to the table like President Lula has, like Pope Francis has? Are you a Catholic? He's calling for a peace
got you.
summit.
Be real, man. We got you.
Let me say
what I say first, man.
Come on, man. I got you, bro. I'm one of y'all. Let me say what I gotta say that's not gonna address anything that you said. Jamal, we see through you, bro. We see through you. So remember when Jamaal Bowman was caught out on this before? When he's like, come on, we just talk to you afterwards, bro. And then we brought him on the show, and then they said that Jamaal Bowman was kind of trying to stall him out. He's like the last person he talked to at the event. And then he was like, yeah, we're gonna keep finding them Nazis, bro. That's what we're doing, bro. At the end of the day, peace out. So no, we don't let you say what we had to say now. You address this shit right now, and you tell everyone what you want to say to us in private. Where you say in private that we're gonna support the war anyway. So anyway, I'm gonna let more of it play. I'm gonna get back to. I'm gonna play the part with Jerem again. Then I'll play more of it.
Members, when are you going to pull us back from the verge of nuclear war? In October, these progressives said there's a threat of nuclear war. We need to sue for peace between Russia and Ukraine. They retracted it. When will you come to the table like President Lula has, like Pope Francis has? Are you a Catholic? He's calling for a peace summit.
Be real, man. We got you. Let me say what I say first, man.
Schumer is taking us to nuclear war. We are going to nuclear war because of these bastards. Are you going to wake up, people?
No, we're not going to wake up.
Well, we're not going to wake up.
Y'all hear that?
Gleefully being stupid. Gleefully being stupid.
This is the dumb left that the anti-conspirant and AOCs want to cultivate. They want to cultivate a populace that's so dumb. They say, no, we are not going to wake up about the threat of nuclear war. There needs to be long-term case studies. There need to be political studies, case studies on what it takes to brainwash your supporters to the point where you say that we are not going to wake up. This is shit that fascists salivate over. This shouldn't even be studied. You guys want to hear it again? I want to hear it again. I'll go back to let's hear that part again. Unbelievable.
We are going to nuclear war because of these bastards. Are you going to wake up, people?
No, we're not going to wake up.
No, we're not going to wake up because we're the most propagandized people on the planet.
Do you guys feel like that these are our closest allies now? That's what people will tell us, CJ. They're like, oh my God, why are you criticizing these progressives? They're our closest allies. Does that sound like an ally to you? These people are as dangerous as it gets. As dangerous as it gets. You guys want to hear? I want to hear it again.
Are you going to wake up, people?
No, we're not going to wake up.
No, we're not going to wake up. The NATO left in a nutshell. Let me continue to play. I just want to have special emphasis on that because this is literally a cult. We did this video where I explained to you the Bernie Sanders left, the AOC left is a cult. The same way that Donald Trump is a cult, to the point where they said, no, we don't want to wake up. This is cult shit. I want nothing to do with. Let's continue.
All right, bye.
I'm gonna start
No, we're not going to wake up. All right, bye. Bye.
This is the Green New Deal in action. That's a good line.
All right.
Yay! We silenced the anti-war protesters. Yay! AOC, is that AOC over there clapping? Hold up.
Yeah.
Motherfucker.
Yeah.
Motherfucker. Look at this. Hold up. I did not see that first.
And that's Chuck Schumer. She's standing right next to Chuck Schumer. All three of them there, not just Jamaal Bowman.
Unbelievable. And y'all don't think she's our enemy.
They do joint parties with Chuck. This is the second one, Nick. This is not even the first one. There's another one where she's talking. Chuck Schumer is sitting down next to, I think it's Jamaal Bowman, or maybe it's just Chuck Schumer, and she said something about DSA has increased, and he's clapping because he knows. Oh, yo, those are DSA. You mean like Democrats? Yes. It's another one.
The optics of this alone, where you have AOC standing with one of the most corrupt, the Senate minority leader. I think majority leader. I think Democrats got Senate. So the Democrat Senate majority leader, Chuck Schumer, standing shoulder to shoulder next to him, smiling and cheering as they mute an anti-war activist. But you guys think we've been divisive for calling these people out? These people are the enemy of the workers. Let's play that part again. I literally did not catch this first time.
Let me interject this part.
Yeah.
Can you imagine just going back to your regular scheduled program after you have a protester? I'm just wondering, is it you know how bought into propaganda for the rest of that fucking event not to be weird as fuck? If you're able to just you're able to just operate that, like, that's just nobody talking about nuclear war. Like, if you're able to operate in that space, you're so bought in, or you are pretending, and everybody's kind of looking around like, wow, yeah.
That's such a good point, man. Like, back when I was part of the Bernie campaign, if there was an event like this and someone was like, you're supporting nuclear war, I'm like, after it's over, I'm like, yo, what's the dude talking about? What the fuck? Let's say I was uninformed. Like, I did, like, you're uninformed, and that's why you're supporting people. You're good faith. What to do? Well, hey, now I want to hear more from that dude. What are you talking about? Hey, Jamal, what are you talking about?
What are you talking about, man?
What are you talking about sending weapons to you? I didn't know anything about that. That's what you would do if you're good faith. Which brings me back to my earlier point. You see these people jeering at these people? These people are not real people. These are DNC insiders. I covered this. It's a well-known tactic where DNC, they hold these public events and they have DNC plants as crowd control.
Yes.
So when that guy, and this is not a coincidence, every single time, CJ, every single time we covered this, for Cori Bush, for Ilhan Omar, from first and second time Jamaal and AOC was called out, every single time you get this crowd response that immediately to mute the protester, and that's coming from the DNC plants. You guys don't believe?
They have a lot of. They did this for the strike breaking. Remember, they did the little worker protest, so supposed union protest the next day, and then Bowman came out, and Ilhan and AOC came out and spoke same similar sort of thing where they had plants. Yeah. Those people who showed up. Those weren't actual rail workers. Yeah. Those were their political staffers and other people with them. That was all set up, and it's the same thing they're doing here. Because they know people that this tells you, though, Nick. They know exactly what people don't want. They know the people don't want any of this. That's why they have to do plans and do all this other stuff. Go ahead.
No, that's such a great point. They know they're in the wrong. That's why they got to do the crowd control tactics. That's why it went viral. Like the first time, remember the first time Jamaal Bowman called out, the first time this happened, it went viral because they had no defense. They was like caught with their pants down their legs, and then they all had a huddle. They had a squad huddle, and like we got to figure out how to stop the shit from happening again. This shit was embarrassing. The Jimmy Dore left. You had RBN. You had Convo Couch. All the anti-imperialists. You had Gray Zone. Everyone was covering it. Can't have that shit again. We got to have crowd plants in here because what most people do, like you see. A lot of times when this happens, you look at the general reaction. Most people who love drama. You ever see the World Star video? People like, oh my God, World Star. Like most ordinary people, they should see this shit happen. They're like, oh shit, what's going on here? Right? And then maybe they like shocked into silence. The DNC insiders are the people who immediately start yelling out. No, boo, we want to stay awake. Oh, boo, no, boo, get them out of here. Yeah, AOC. Remember that chant that completely manufactured chant from last time? AOC. They got people that in the crowd. They are not real support. Now think about how pathetic that is. Look at the crowds here. This is a culture.
We are going.
Bro, I remember I was on the Bernie campaign. I remember how crazy Bernie rally used to be. I'll just mute it here because I just want to show the environment here for a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
This coffee shop has AOC and Jamaal Bowman Two of the biggest names of the progressive left, and they barely can fill a coffee shop, and they got DNC plants in there as well. Does that show that they lost the support of the people?
Yeah, and I think it shows that they know it too, and that's why their reaction is this. They know, like, you can't be in this space and not realize it at this point.
Yeah, look, this all Democrats right. You got Chuck Schumer, some staffers, people super close to him. But look around, where are the people? Dude, Bernie in the height of its campaign just showing up at a coffee shop, that shit would be crazy. But the progressive movement is dead. So we did a lot of analysis on this. And CJ, if you don't mind, what I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna let the video play all the way. I'm gonna let it play all the way through just because we did a lot of commentary on it from the beginning to end. So let's play it all the way. Oh wait, I muted on accident. My bad.
Congress members, when are you going to pull us back from the verge of nuclear war? In October, these progressives said there's a threat of nuclear war. We need to sue for peace between Russia and Ukraine. They retracted it. When will you come to the table like President Lula has, like Pope Francis has? Are you a Catholic? He's calling for a peace summit.
We will, man. We got you.
Schumer is taking us to nuclear war. We are going to nuclear war because of these bastards. Are you going to wake up, people?
No, we're not going to wake up. Bye-bye.
Sending it in.
Bye-bye. All right.
So, as I was saying,
Once we won, we said we're not going to stop. We just put the crack in the day.
So this is the second one right here. So let's watch this one all the way through because this one I don't think I've seen. I might saw the first one. Let's see.
And now we're going to go for the whole damn thing.
So do you think you're gonna win a nuclear war then? Please. Mr. President Lula da Silva from
The timing of that interjection was perfect. We didn't win no damn thing. Her bullshit fly through. He's like, you think you're gonna win a nuclear war? And everyone in the room know that was a good interjection. They were like, oh god damn it.
Rewind that like 10 seconds.
Yeah, I didn't see it. Look at the part again. That was so good. Let's listen to it.
So do you think you're gonna win a nuclear war then? Please. Mr. President Lula da Silva from Brazil said that he wanted countries to meet together for peace.
What does he have to do with it? And I love what they're doing. Just real quick, they bring up Lula. Because remember how Marianne Williamson...
They want to project for them, yeah.
Marianne Williamson is trying to gaslight people into the German Green Party supports the war in Ukraine. So that's the left position. Meanwhile, the left is all over the world. From Lula is rejected. So I love that they bring him up because AOC and Jamaal Bowman, and they were pretending that there was Lula leftists just a few weeks ago when Bolsonaro lost, remember? So I'll let you continue.
Right, because I'm telling you, because she's the woman who's sending my money to go to Ukraine so that we can have a nuclear war.
And then he just dismantles her point because she was like, what does that have to do with anything? He's like, this is the woman who is literally sending our money to Ukraine. You see how he had to explain it to them?
Peace.
What does he have to do with it?
Right, because I'm telling you, because she's the woman who's sending my money to go to Ukraine.
What do you mean, what does she have to do with it? He's literally voting for war funding.
That's the representative.
If you support the military-industrial complex in the war, you should have no peace. You don't get to do public fundraisers when you speak platitudes. The politicians who are allowed to go out and speak platitudes are the ones who don't vote for war. How about that as an agreement? Right? Anyway, let me continue.
So that we can have a nuclear war. Is it okay if we go down? But listen, I have a question though, because the Pope and President Lula are desperately trying to keep us from dying in a nuclear apocalypse. Oh my goodness. The muscle is out here. No, but I'm serious. If I die in a nuclear war, I guess that's better, right? Because we've got the AOC and everybody's cheering on, and we get to talk about local politics while she sends $100 billion into Ukraine for the war.
Like you said earlier, CJ, how is it not awkward as fuck after that? Like, if I was in the audience, I was good for it. I'm like, wait, you did what? Is he lying? Is he lying? Is he telling the truth? Someone fact check that.
Or you have to drink the Kool-Aid so much that you have to have a conversation that's this ridiculous. That guy's crazy. Nuclear war. Who cares about nuclear war? We want some local shit. You gotta have such a like. I'm gonna zap myself out of even understanding what nuclear war is to even remain in that room and as if something's like this guy didn't just or this person didn't just bring up a very good point. That's what you have to do, Nick. You have to drink the Kool-Aid that much. That's why, to your point, that's why it's a lot of just staffers in there. Because you can't get a lot of regular people to drink the Kool-Aid, and that's how these protesters sneak in. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I have something else that's connected to Ukraine because the NATO left, they are dangerous. Like, they know they're in the wrong. The techniques you see shown there to silent activists is what they do when they know they're in the wrong. And AOC and the Justice Democrats, Jamaal Bowman, they was all super excited when Lula won. Now, Lula, he said, and this is what caused Bloomberg to smear Lula and attack him because he said, we're not going to commit 1 cent to the Ukraine war. That's what Lula said. And Lula condemned Russia and Putin as well. And there were a lot of people that were mad at him for doing that. But he was like, as a statesman, I'm going to condemn both sides, but we should seek peace on this war, and we should not justify saying a penny here. Compare that to the position of AOC and Bowman, where they send your money to escalate conflict against a nuclear power, and then they feel so smug and arrogant that they don't even believe that they owe you an explanation for it. Like, if you are confident in your position, if someone pull up to you and ask you why you're funding this war, shouldn't you be able to shut them down with ease and turn the crowd on your side? They shut them down because they know they can't. They know they can't. It's like a comedian being heckled. We have fun with negative comments all the time, CJ, because there'll be people heckle us. We're like, oh shit, we're gonna make them. And then they be like, oh, we trolling, man. We all just joking. We're like, okay, you were just joking, but let's use this as a learning lesson.
Right. Just in case
even if they were serious. So that we do that because we're confident in our position. They can't even do that because they know they're wrong. So CJ, any last thoughts? And I want to interject a Ukraine story, which is
we can get to the Ukraine story, and then what else do we have? It's a couple of stories. Yeah, it's a couple of articles.
It's not going to be as long. Yeah, this one shouldn't be as long because this is something the NATO left will never acknowledge. And I want you guys to pay attention, okay? So we saw David Doe and them do videos praising AOC for ridiculous performance. We have them doing ridiculous electoral politics focused videos all the time. One thing I have noticed is that they never cover stories like these. We have another example of the United States blocking peace deals in Ukraine. So as I do the story, think about the Humanist Report, think about TYT, think about Voss, think about David Doe, think about will they cover this story? Will the NATO left cover the story I'm about to tell you guys right now, where you have the Israeli Prime Minister, Naftali Bennett, the unhinged Zionist fascist, who was like, how about we have a peace deal in Jerusalem? We bring the Russians together, we bring the Ukrainians together, and let's have peace. And the United States said, nah, we're not about to do that, bro. We're making money, son. We are weakening Russia. And they blocked another peace deal. This is the story. You have former Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett, the unhinged Zionist, who was telling the United States to chill the fuck out. CJ, how crazy is that? You have Israel. You have Israel bombing. They're like, nigga, we bombing Syria. We supporting genocide in Yemen. We genociding the Palestinian people. Come on, can we focus? Can we get our head in the game? This Israel been fighting them in terms of sending munitions to Ukraine. Like, nigga, we got Syrians to bomb. We got Palestine. We are doing, man. We got colonial shit to do. Y'all focused about Ukrainians. So this is Naftali Bennett. saying he admitted the United States blocked his attempts at a Russian-Ukraine peace deal. So there was an interview posted on YouTube channel. I'm gonna show you guys exactly what he said. Said that the United States and the Western allies blocked his efforts of mediating between Russia and Ukraine to bring an end to the war. Will Matt Duss acknowledge this fact? Will TYT do a segment discussing this? Will the NATO left have a conversation about this? The question is no. CJ, every time we do Ukraine segments, I would just be curious. I will see like, will Kyle Kalinske cover it like this? They never do. The video never drops. When it was exposed that Boris Johnson broke up the peace deal that was going on last summer between Zelensky, no one in the NATO left covered it. So the reason why I'm bringing this up, not because the channel is necessarily important, but it shows that they know they're wrong. You know what I mean? So if you're lying by omission, if you're not showing people this information, why are you hiding this? Do you think it will just prove your point? If Matt Duss, do you think this will just prove your point that the United States is working in good faith to protect the Ukrainian people? So I'll read this because this is y'all can speak in a foreign language here. I'm assuming it's Israeli. So I'm gonna just read this here. And he said, after talking with Putin, I flew to Germany because Germany and France are the main figures in Europe. See, this is the podcast. Is that? Yeah, I don't know what podcast it is, but he said he flew to Germany and in order to reach an agreement, everyone should make an effort. I was making protocols on what happened. So then he said, in the next steps, the disagreements arose during the negotiations and what is required of everyone. There in Berlin, we were bringing the Americans, Jake Sullivan, sometime Blinken, sometime Biden, and Emmanuel Macron and Boris Johnson. Each leader has his own approach. You can divide the leaders into those who adhere to the line, we must fight back against Putin, and those who say there are losers in any war. So people who like pro-war Russian hawks, and people say, oh my God, we pushing for nuclear war. You guys need to relax, right? That's what he's saying. Boris Johnson advocated for radical measures. You have Macron and Scholz from Germany who are more pragmatic, let's say. And Biden supported both approaches. But the West had decided it is necessary to continue to smash Putin. Let's see. I'm gonna get to this part. Here we go. I think this is the next part here. And not to negotiate. All my actions were coordinated to the smallest detail with the United States, Germany, and France, and they broke off negotiations. Did he say how the United States, Germany, and France broke off negotiations? By and large, yes. They broke off negotiations. Well, no, the guy didn't ask. So he said the West broke off negotiations. Then the podcast responded, oh shit, what the fuck you just say? And then he said, yeah, they did break off negotiations. Then it seemed to me that they were wrong. I'm sure we had a good chance of success if they haven't stopped trying. So what he's saying is that there's a faction that was like, how about we come to this peace agreement in Israel and Jerusalem, and then you had the Boris Johnson and you had Biden who was playing both sides, who killed it. So this is something that you're not going to see acknowledged from the people who pretend that by sending unlimited arms to Ukraine, we're doing it to support the Ukrainian people. We're only doing it because there's no way you can negotiate with Russia and Putin. You had over and over again Western leaders fighting any chance for peace. There's also another quote. He said, I'll say this in the broad sense. I think there was a legitimate discussion by the West to keep striking Putin and not negotiate. And it's going to be very interesting in the next coming years, in this coming year, because I think things going to get, apparently there are a lot of talks of a giant Russian offensive and things going to get real in this summer. A lot of people on the Russian side are predicting this is going to take this last that much longer. But you're going to see a lot more people speak out against this. Like there was a story that we did a few weeks ago. We have Joseph Perel, that one EU guy who keeps saying, "Why are we going to war with Ukraine here?" You get more. The cracks are starting to form where people are starting to blow the whistle on this kind of stuff, right? Negotiations between Russia and Ukraine didn't stop with Bennett's efforts. Later in March, Russian and Ukrainian officials met in Istanbul, Turkey, and followed up with virtual consultations. The negotiation, and then they talk about how they had peace talks in Istanbul, and the negotiation failed after more Western pressure. Boris Johnson visited Kyiv in 2022 and ordered Zelensky not to negotiate with Russia. So we need the NATO left to explain why are Western leaders advocating against peace if they are against war, right? But anyway, there's a short segment. I just want to interject that. CJ, anything you want to add? Any commentary?
Yeah, no, I was looking for the video. I forgot my Twitter's not working. But there's a video of, I forget, I think is it McGregor, who's saying how because when you said this line that this war is not going to be last, like Russia's about to like finish this off. He was speaking to that point in his video, press video. He's speaking to this point of how like Ukraine is losing. So let's be clear. He's basically in a clip saying Ukraine is losing. There's going to be a few more weeks of this, and then this will be over. Go ahead.
They are literally forcing 16-year-olds and constricting them and forcing them to combat. They're throwing them in on the front lines because they're running out of human resources. Meanwhile, Russia is barely gone through their reserves. That's what a lot of people don't even understand. They barely got started. Meanwhile, we already spend more than the Russian military budget. Now, I'm gonna show you guys this video. I saw this going around. I'm just trying to interject in this as you get ready. Because there is a good comment. Oh, let me. Oh shit, my screen messing up. Oh, I'll just copy and paste it. Oh, there we go. 1 second. Sorry, I gotta open a whole new window. My screen froze up. Here we go.
Oh, you have an issue too.
This is the thread going around of 16-year-old boys being grabbed out the street of Ukraine, being forced to the front line and fight. And then Ukrainian soldiers get them. There's so many videos like this too, by the way. Our friend Wyatt, he was doing Wyatt Reed. He was doing good reporting.
Yeah, I saw
on
that
this.
video.
Yeah, this is his. I'll put his tweet up here. This is Wyatt's tweet. Ukrainian soldier assaults a woman who tried to keep a loved one from getting kidnapped and used as cannon fodder. So this is the state of the Ukrainian side. There is no chance of them seizing areas occupied. Already that have been liberated, like Luhansk and Donetsk, like that shit's gone, and that's why you have Western leaders are now saying, "Shit, maybe we need to negotiate," which includes Ukraine losing territory. That conversation is starting to happen because people know the Ukraine side literally have no chance of winning. That's why the Ukraine propaganda is literally hitting overdrive. But CJ, you had the video prepared, and I'll pass to you if you're ready.
No, my again, it's not coming up. It's all right. I mean, I summarized it. Twitter is still not working for me. I'm sure it's just me. Twitter is still not working. Everything else is working. So no, I don't have a video. So we can close that segment. Now you said you had another another story that you wasn't sure we're gonna be able to get to that you wanted to try to squeeze in.
Yeah, I can show. I want to do a breakdown. I'll do a breakdown of this segment here because this is standard, ridiculous. The propaganda is hitting next stage because now they got to justify escalating war with Ukraine. Ali Veshi is someone who's like the lead guy. We broke down many of his segments on Ukraine. I saw this one earlier. And this one was beyond ridiculous. I want to break this down real quick.
Why do you think he's been selected to be the person that's doing this? Or you think it's just him? Like, why?
He's like the they maybe have compartmentalized roles, and everyone they sprinkle some Ukraine talking points in there, but based on proficiency, it seems like Morning Joe, Joe Scarborough, and Ali Vesci are the MSNBC Ukraine people. I don't know why. I guess it's because they maybe specialize in war propaganda. But when they need a insane war in Ukraine segment, it's always Ali Vesci. It's Ali Vesci or Joe Scarborough. And like Rachel Maddow and Chris Hayes, they'll mention it in passing. It'll be probably a part of this segment. But he's the one that he bring on propagandists to. He's the guy who bring on the military experts to propagandize people. So this segment very interesting. I'm gonna show you guys the talking points that the NATO left gets. I really don't understand. Do the NATO left watch these segments as legitimate? We watch these segments as oppo. I think these are important to watch so we can debunk the talking points, so you can take that in your real life. When you hear people, I see it all the time. I see people on Twitter that will say some shit. I'm like, I saw a segment where Ali Vesci said that. I don't know if you got it from him, but clearly you're misinformed, right? So we got to know what our enemies are saying. So once again, this is only a 5-minute segment, so it's not going to take too long. I just want to do another propaganda report here.
Joining me now is the Ambassador William Taylor. He's the Vice President for Russia and Europe at the U.S. Institute of Peace. He served as America's ambassador to Ukraine from 2006 to 2009. He also served.
That's why these clips on MSNBC or on Ukraine always be so horrifying, because they always be pointing up the people on the top levels and not some random cranes they be bringing on. They bring on people who have very large amount of influence on these issues, and then they go on TV and they sound unhinged. I'm like, dang, these are the people that advise our government. Anyway,
to that point, and it's similar to what was happening with China. So you notice when it comes to war propaganda, they bring out the heavyweights. They bring out John Brent. I think his name is John Brennan. They bring out this gentleman here, and there's a handful. There's 4 or 5. James, I forget his name. It was another CIA guy, James something. I forget his name. But yeah, they bring these people out because you can't challenge them, as their credentials are supposedly unchallengeable in this world of PMC. It's like, what do you mean? This guy has this, and this. When you understand, when it's our perspective, Nick, is that if it's a CIA person, that means this person is here to tell 100% lies. That's what that means. So that's our starting point. So if your starting point is that the CIA does good, then that's where we kind of veer off. Go ahead, Nick.
It's funny because when I went on the Hill and I debated Robbie about Venezuela, I still remember the booty left and the people who hate RBN. When that was announced that was happening, there were so many people like, oh my God, why are they bringing Nick on? What is Nick credentials? Remember that? Yeah. There were people like, what is Nick credentials, Bree? Why are you bringing him on, Bree? Nick got no credentials. And meanwhile, I ran circles around him on Venezuela. I ran circles on Robbie around Venezuela. They brought on some think tank guy on because they didn't want to bring us on at the same time, and he did a response video. So then I responded to that video and dismantled all his points. So these credentials mean nothing. And if I was on this segment, and you're gonna see when I do, as we continue with this propaganda report, I can dismantle everything this guy says. But he's credentialed. You guys see how the bullshit United States class system works? They view our opinions as lesser because we are not credentialed. But these assholes and Matt Duss, who are wrong about everything, are the credentialed foreign policy experts. You're not an expert. You just repeat U.S. talking points. But let's continue.
Kyiv in 2019. He served as a diplomat, coordinating assistance for the former Soviet Union from 1992 to 2002. Ambassador, good to see you. Thank you for being with us.
Can you pause it right there? Now, the reason they say all of these credentials, imagine a boomer listening. Imagine a liberal boomer listening to that. Or in any case, anybody who's watching these shows, this is to say, listen, everybody, if you're watching this, this is an expert. Look at all of his credentials. You're not to challenge all of the propaganda he's about to state. That's literally why they say all these credentials and to build up this meritocracy as if, oh, you know, all this education, when all this just means is he's more indoctrinated. That's all these accolades in the military, that just means you're more indoctrinated in the system of imperialism or capitalism in this case. Go ahead, Nick.
Thank you all. It's great to be here again.
We are now closing in on 1 year of this war. And when you look back, you and I have been talking since before it started. When you look back, the things that the Ukrainians have asked the West for, which the West has said, no way, after several weeks or months become a reality. So now they've got their tanks. They have 2 weeks ago, there was a remarkable commitment of weaponry and ammunition from the West. Now they're asking for airplanes and long-range missiles. Joe Biden said nope when asked about that the other day.
And so probably what President Biden meant was, ask me again later, because that's been the trend, as exactly as you say, Ali.
Just saying the quiet part out loud here. What have I said on RBN? They have a very particular strategy, CJ. Their strategy is not to win the war. Their strategy is to make as much money for weapon defense contractors and to drag out the war as long as possible. So what you do in those situations is you have these political theater with Zelensky like, hey, Biden, can I get some tanks? And Biden like, no, we're not sending you tanks because that would be too escalatory. You see how we being rational here? And then a few weeks later, like, Biden sent them tanks. And then a good reason why they've been doing this slow escalatory process to slowly get the American people on board with this, CJ, because they did. And they
I was just about to say that. Go ahead.
Yeah, CJ, go ahead. I want you to chime in if you want. Go ahead. I think we get
no. That's you were stating the exact point that I was going to interject just to make sure that's interject. It's millions. It's 100. It's 10 million. Then it's go back and let's do a little more propaganda, because they can't go and say, hey, we're going to actually transfer 500 billion to them.
Yes,
we can't do that all at once. What the fuck? So we got to go 75 here. Then we got to create something that happens. Then we can send another 50. Then we got to create something else that happens. Then we can send another 25. They have to do it in these things. And the press, the media, or intricate is very important, I should say, is essential to this sort of dragging this along. Because if all the press has to do is push back and say, why do we keep doing this? How many times we keep going to the well? If they ask those questions, this wouldn't be able to happen. Just think of that. If we had a press that said, why are we doing this? We already at 50 billion. Why are we trying to do more? Go ahead, Nick.
No, it's worse than that, CJ. That's just a good point. Because Ali Veshi, remember when he almost had his breakthrough moment? Yeah. I think it was literally the last time I covered Ali Veshi. When Ali Veshi was like, I don't understand why we don't give everything Ukrainians want just in one package. Remember that segment? Where he was like, why don't we just give the Ukrainians everything they want right now so they can win the war? He was so close to having a breakthrough. They don't do that because they're trying to drag the war out, Ali. Because if they just announced the amount, then people are like, why are we sending that much money? Now they announced there's like another $2 billion going to Ukraine that I read about. It's incremental. What? It's incremental. So anyway, let's continue, because this is them saying the quiet part out loud. I'll just play the last 10 seconds again and we let it continue. Because once again, the segment is not that long. If they say a lot of things I wanted to break down when I covered it. When I saw it.
Why is the helper, Nick, the one out front with the loudest horn saying they need money? But when we say negotiate, oh, we can't do that. That'll be like the United States is trying to tell them what to do, but you're the main one trying to, hey, let's keep this fight going. Like you're the main one doing that. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah.
What President Biden meant was, ask me again later, because that's been the trend, as exactly as you say, Ali. The Ukrainians have been asking for air defense, and they've gotten air defense. And the air defense that they've gotten has gotten steadily more lethal and longer range. You remember the air defense that we started out with, these Stingers that were handheld by soldiers, and very effective. They're very effective.
No, they wasn't.
We're at the top. We're giving them the top of the line.
Just real quick, there was like blooper videos on Twitter showing like all the Ukrainian soldiers had no idea how to use Stingers and these weapons. So that's a lie.
Anti-aircraft missiles. That's the top. That's what we use. That's what the United States military uses. So it's gone from Stingers to Patriots. Same thing, Ali, on the anti-tank. We gave him the javelins that an individual soldier can fire at tanks. And now we're all the way up, as you say, to HIMARS, these long-range rockets, medium-range rockets. And actually, just this week, Ali, the administration has agreed to send much longer range rockets to allow the Ukrainians to.
And remember, CJ, literally like 6 months ago when we covered a story where Biden administration said we won't send long range weapons. That's a red line that would be too escalatory. Now they send long range rockets. You guys see this strategy they're doing?
They said that about tanks too. Go
Yeah,
ahead,
they
you
said
keep the
that
video
about
going.
tanks. There's so many examples that they just talk about nonchalantly, like no, and Ali Veshi's like, why can't we get Ukraine more? You're like, Biden always said the question's all about like why won't Biden do more, and he's like, he kind of gonna do it anyway. It was bullshit about not saying long range rockets and tanks. Like now, that's the point. That's the point of this segment. Let's continue.
Deeper into Russian-held territory. So this has been the trend. My bet is that range gets longer. My bet is sooner or later, I hope sooner, there will be aircraft added to that mix.
I hope sooner.
We have not had great diplomatic progress.
And this is the concept I was playing on Jimmy Dore's show, where you have our government, which is already unhinged, CJ. Our government is already unhinged, and our media is worse than our government. Because our government does a ton of pro-war shit, and then our media is like, Biden, you fucking pussy, why won't you send him some jets? Biden, you fucking pussy, why won't you send him some tanks? Oh my God, do you want Putin to win, Biden? Why don't we go all in? They cheering on Biden as Biden is all in for World War III. They critiquing him from the right.
Over the last year, we now have a brand new U.S. ambassador in Russia with a year coming along and a stalemate at the moment, although we are expecting a massive Russian offensive in Ukraine. Is there a possibility for a diplomatic approach and something that looks like an exit ramp for Russia?
So, Ali, we always look for options for peace. We always look for ways to stop the war, to terminate. War termination is something that we're looking at. And one way that wars end is through diplomacy, as you've said. But the ripeness, the ability for diplomats on both sides to come to some kind of agreement depends on how ripe the situation is. And it's just not ripe yet at this.
What does that mean? According to the West, the situation would never be ripe. As he explains, I'll play a little bit more and I'll continue my thought.
For either side, Ali, that is, the Ukrainians don't want to stop while they're pushing the Russians out. The Ukrainians want first to push the Russians out of their country.
Not going to happen.
The Russians, Putin in particular, has not figured out, has not realized, has not gotten it that he's actually losing this battle and have a ceasefire in place. So that's what, so Putin is in a bind, Ali, and it's sooner or later, there will be a victory, I think, in terms of the Ukrainians being able to push the Russians out of their country. And at that point, there will be the time for diplomacy. We're looking.
And I want you guys to realize what he's saying is insane, because when someone says that, they say they want thousands and thousands and thousands of thousands of Ukrainians to die before we even think about negotiating. That is the stance that this guy has been saying. This is what Anthony Blinken has been saying. We said we do not negotiate until we force Russia out of Ukraine, which no one anticipates happening anytime soon. So what they were doing, they say this. Whenever Ukraine has an offensive, they say, oh, we can't negotiate now because Putin is weak. We got the Russians on the back hill. We can't negotiate now. Whenever Ukraine loses a ton of territory, they say, oh, we can't negotiate now. That will be a sign of weakness. That will be a sign of concession to Putin as he gets a ton of territory. You guys see how they always have it both ways?
Yeah, either way.
Whether they losing or they winning, it's never ripe enough for them to negotiate. Let alone the lie he just told about Putin's ask and negotiate. He want the end of NATO encroachment, which you guys are not doing. You guys are arming Ukrainian Nazis and the fascist militias in Ukraine more. You guys are escalating the conflict that Russia joined to end.
For options for peace, and that could be one.
I don't know if when you and I talked last February as this was ramping up, I'm not sure whether either of us would have thought we'd be talking about it a year later. What does it tell you that we're still talking about it a year later?
Last question, we move on.
It tells us, Ali, that the Ukrainians are resilient, determined, motivated in ways that the Russians aren't.
What does that mean?
Ukrainians.
These psychopaths keep saying Ukrainian people are so resilient. They're so resolved. For one, the Ukraine is divided. There are a lot of Ukrainians that want this conflict to be ended First and foremost, they're not resolved to fight Russia. Zelensky went on a peace platform. There's many people who just want the conflict to end. They don't care about the state one way or another. Me and Zoya on Nick and Night, we did show a poll that showed that people in Western occupied territories in Ukraine, they're the one who most upset at the status quo, while people under Russian-held territory are very happy being Russian. So what are you talking about? The Ukrainians have resiliency. That's them taking Ukrainian suffering and pain, and they're going back to American audiences and saying, "Oh my God, American audiences, the Ukrainian people are happy to be suffering on our behalf."
That
How do
sounds
you know
very
that?
suspiciously to what some of the logic for slavery, like we enjoy slavery.
Yeah,
That's what the oppressor says in this case.
yeah.
Too.
So we only got like a minute and a half left here, and then I'll pass to you. This will be my last segment of the day. I'll pass to you for another one, though, CJ.
Absolutely.
Determined, motivated in ways that the Russians aren't. Ukrainians, like the defenders at Stalingrad, this is so interesting. You're right. The ironies are amazing. The defenders of their own nation, of their own country, of their own city, of their own communities, they win. They're determined. They know why they're fighting. The Ukrainians know why they're fighting, to defend their land. The Russians, the aggressors in this case, don't know why they're fighting. Putin has not been able to tell his soldiers or his civilians, his people, or indeed us, why he invaded. So that's the
Now
big
we know
difference, it seems to me.
that's a bold-faced lie because we have. Why do you guys think I have done segments where Putin is straight up like, yo, he brought the Minsk Accords. He like there's been the conflict in 2014. NATO encroached on our borders. We want to end NATO encroachment. We want Ukraine to be a neutral country. We want the sovereignty of the Donbass and Donetsk to be acknowledged and recognized. Like we have shown you guys speeches where he is 100% clear, and this is why Putin has a 75% to 80% approval rating, because he tells the Russian people exactly why he's doing this conflict, which they all agree with because they're used to Nazis marching up to their border, like the Azov Battalion. And this is a long-standing tradition of the Russian people fighting Nazis because the Russians defeated the Nazis. The same way Napoleon went into Russia. This is what Putin explains all the time. And CJ, they purposely do not show people this. And then they turn around and say, Putin has no goals. He's not telling these people why they're going to war, as they don't show the people what the Russian position is, right? So it's unbelievable gaslighting. And you see how they manipulate the NATO left and the PMCs into thinking that this is just Putin snapping one day. There's no historical reason for him doing this, right? But anyway, CJ, any last thoughts? That's my last story for today. I don't know if you had any other ones, but I'll pass it to y'all. I'm flowing this right now. I'm not sure, but I saw the State of the Union. I might do a State of the Union reaction stream. We see.
When is that? Is that tomorrow or Wednesday?
I think is that today?
Oh, it's today. Oh,
I think it's today.
Oh, shoot. So that's like at 9. Is that 9 Eastern, or is it later than that? It might be later than that.
Yeah, I think I'm thinking about it. I'm gonna see what my roommate situation looking like. But I may jump on the stream, may do a reaction. We see.
Okay.
We see.
Well,
Go ahead. No, never mind.
Yeah.
Pilgrim he says tomorrow. He says tomorrow.
Okay.
Let me fact check.
We can always double check.
I
just thought it was
my bad, guys. I thought I saw something that said it was today, so it's tomorrow. So
I think they're blowing it up because they know this. I think the speech has already went out because you know how they sent out the speech to all of the outlets and they kind of talk about.
I haven't seen that yet. So the reason why I want to cover this is because this is on the heels of the Chinese balloon Blinken canceling the meeting incident, and also because I want to see what Biden says on the Ukraine war. So I think it'd be very interesting on those points. So especially since it's tomorrow, I think I definitely would do it. I think I might do a special Nick at Night. And you guys can join. Anyone at RBN can join. I think I might do a Nick and Night breakdown stream because there's gonna be a lot of bullshit to say, especially when it comes to China. Like when Biden brings up China on the State of the Union, it's gonna be unhinged. I'm telling you. But CJ, any last segment?
Yeah. I got one short segment. I sent you actually the link in the private chat. If you could bring that up, my for whatever reason, my only YouTube
I'll pull
and
it
this
up.
is working right
Yeah,
now.
you
So,
can
but
click
yeah,
Facebook.
it's just a high, yeah, it's just a headline, and then like the first paragraph, because it's more of a discussion between me and you. This is just it started. Now, if you saw this, this is the specter of socialism haunts U.S. Congress, and I posted this on Twitter with the snippet. I can't see it from here, but if you could read maybe the first two paragraphs or blow it up, and I
Yeah,
can read it.
I can present. Just tell me when you want me to stop.
Yeah.
All right. A specter is haunting Congress. The specter is socialism. Last week, as the U.S. Congress discussed approving billions of dollars more in weapons for the war against Russia and began negotiating cuts to social programs in advance of the debt ceiling expiration. Richard Wolff, he was on Democracy Now! I think 6 days ago. It was one of the segments I cut because I didn't get a chance to do it. He explained, bro, they do this shit every few years where they had a debt ceiling. It's pretty much theater. They already know what they're gonna do. It's literally a show just so people think that government can't do shit. You know what I mean? But anyway, I still might cover the segment. It's an older segment, but it still holds up pretty well.
It's still relevant though.
Yeah, Richard Wolff he does his breakdown every time because I've seen him do it multiple times. Every single time there's a debt ceiling showdown, he explains like, dude, guys, this is bullshit. This is not. They are literally covering wool over your head with this shit. But anyway, let me continue the article. The House spent 3 days discussing and adopting a resolution denouncing socialism, which Hakeem Jeffries and Jamal. I think it was Ro Khanna, not Jamaal Bowman.
Ro Khanna, yeah.
Ro Khanna
and
voted.
Ruben Galloway.
Yeah. In pledging to reverse all the social gains made by the working class on a global scale in the century since the Russian Revolution of 1917, the media presents the passage of the resolution as nothing more than a propaganda ploy by the far-right Republicans. But it is much more than that. By dedicating a substantial portion of its legislative agenda to a condemnation of socialism, the United States Congress expresses the fear within the ruling class that a powerful socialist movement will take root in the working class and orient the emerging wave of strikes and social struggles in a revolutionary direction. And now that paragraph just rolls off the tongue because it's exactly what I was saying too. This is a great article thus far.
Yeah, I mean, just there, and we can pause there. I mean, you can read more, but that's the parts that I wanted you. And that last sentence is the part that I want to kind of focus on, because if you think about it, it was bipartisan. So this is a bipartisan show, and who is commanding these people, Nick, that voted? Isn't that the ruling class? Aren't they the ones donating their money? Now think, all these important issues, but they need to project about socialism because, like we were saying in another segment, they're spying on us. They know the conversations we're having. They know what we're writing about in our DMs. They know all the people that are open up TikTok accounts talking about socialism. They know all of what's happening, and they're definitely afraid of a socialist sort of movement. And I did a segment. I think this is when you left. I can't bring it up. Stephen A. did brought on Sean Hannity.
I saw. I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah, that right there. But there is a fear among the ruling class, and Sean Hannity approved it. He was like, "There's too many people who want socialism in this country." That was the very first line of that case study QB video. So it's speaking to the ruling class being deathly afraid, Nick, of socialism and a socialist movement happening. And that's why I think it's so important we push forward with things like with Shama Sawan is doing and everything outside of the duopoly. Go ahead, you were going to chime in.
No, perfectly said, CJ. I'm going to read this passage. I was skimming it while you was going. I think this is a good part because they explain with the resolution. They're like, oh my God, look at this part where the resolution begins. It says socialist ideology necessitates a concentration of power that has time and time again collapsed into communist regimes, totalitarian rule, and brutal dictatorships. said the state that imprisons 1/4 of the world's prison population. Like there's been studies that show that the American people have no say over policy, which is essentially how resources are allocated, as what policy is. How much you spend on defense, how much you spend on policing, how much you spend on healthcare. In Missouri, to give you an example how capitalism is the ultimate dictatorship, we had a ballot initiative where we voted for a Medicare expansion, and the capitalists in our government, our governor
Yeah, I saw
vetoed it. So you see how, according to the capitalists, they want the workers to have no means and no control over the means of production. And then they say you got socialism that failed over and over again. If socialism is such a failed system as you guys claim it is, why can't you guys leave it alone? Socialism has never failed. It's been sanctioned to death. It's been attacked. It's been cool from the inside. There's never been an example of a socialist Marxist framework organization in society that has failed without the intervention of the United States. In fact, Cuba had an embargo on it where it lost hundreds of billions of dollars, but it still has a higher life expectancy than we do, better education than we do, better healthcare system than we do, despite not having billions of dollars, despite the embargo. That's a thriving system. Meanwhile, in the United States, we are the richest society that ever existed, the most billionaires, but lower life expectancy rates, horrible education system, literally people dying, massive depression to the point where you got people taking pills so they don't blow their fucking brains out. You got the richest country in the world, tons of people in poverty. That is a failed system. So this is the last part I'll read, and probably the last part I'll bring up on this segment, because this is a great reaction to that talking point. They continue, they say the reality is that a capitalist system is responsible for deaths and social suffering on a mass scale. The 20th century alone saw 2 imperialist world wars resulting in the deaths of 20 to 60 million people each, a Holocaust in which 10 million was exterminated, the imperialist wars in Korea, Vietnam, Algeria, Angola, Iraq, Kosovo, Afghanistan, Libya, Syria, and elsewhere left millions more dead. The capitalist system is responsible for deaths of 20 million people due to the COVID pandemic, and also half of them would have been saved if we had universal health care, studies have shown. Hundreds of millions face the real threat of starvation every day. On top of this, billions of lives are at risk due to U.S.-led escalation of war against nuclear-armed Russia. But tell me more about how socialism has failed, right? Like, if you look at all the deaths, the capitalism will cause the death of communism, the death toll of communism pales in comparison, going on the same logic, right? So that was a great article. Anything else you wanted to cover on that, CJ? Any last thoughts on it? Good thought-provoking article. Anything else?
Yeah, let me add this part here. Got something to work actually. But let me see if I can share this. So this video, let's go to screen. You tell me if you can see this, Nick. You see the video with Hannity here?
Yeah, I actually don't see it.
Oh, okay. Then never mind. All right, then we can skip it. I still don't know how to do the
Yo, because you want to show the Sean Hannity?
Yeah, I was gonna show the Sean Hannity video.
You want to do that
for
RBN? I think that'd be a good RBN live topic. Like, I think that'd be a good RBN live topic. Like JV, Savvy, Ron.
We can do that then.
Yes,
Yeah, because we got to react to that. We got to
Yeah.
react to that as aspiring. And he calls himself a black capitalist. That's not a such thing, but he's an aspiring.
Yeah, Stephen A. Smith is one of those clowns that like I leave it like Savvy and JB on their show. They did breakdowns on Stephen A. I just can't. This nigga, bro. Like with Stephen A. I just can't with this nigga. Like I can't. Like he's like Candace Owens. You guys know I don't do Candace Owens segments. There are people that are so unserious that I can't with these niggas, bro. Like with Joe Carlson and Joe Scarborough, I think it's important to break down their propaganda because they are mainstream corporate news heads that represent 2 factions of political parties. Stephen A. Smith is just a clown. I can't. I just can't. I saw the clip that you talking about, CJ, and I was like, can't with this nigga, man. I just can't deal with this shit. But anyway, we can react with this on I think that'd be a good RBN live.
Yeah, I'll save it. Yeah,
I got some super chats. And then I will have to go.
Yeah, let's do the super chats, and then we can head out here.
Yeah. So tomorrow I may do 2 streams. I'm gonna do RBN live, and then I may do a Biden. I think it'd be good for us to debunk the bullshit live because I can already tell.
We got to keep up on that type of stuff too, because
I think
even though we aren't necessarily part of Red Blue Game, we have to keep up on that stuff because we want to gather those people and bring them away. Yeah.
I explain to you guys as a Marxist, I think it's important to expose the contradictions of capitalism. So when you have people that hedging on the Red Blue Game, when we expose the nonsense of the Red Blue Game, when we expose not only the fact that they're lying, we expose that the foundation they on is not even real. Like So it helped pull people out of this false framework. That's why I think it has value as a Marxist to expose the contradictions. So I got a few I saved here. Hopefully I didn't miss any. It's not shade on anyone if I did. Thank you for the $3. Tarkish for the super sticker. This is Henry Gustav for the $5. Richard Wolff lies about federal government finances. He knows better. Lies about taxes and borrowing U.S. dollars from other countries. Lies about national debt. I would be very interested in hearing about that criticism. So I don't know if you want to like further explain it, but that'd be interesting. I would love to hear the criticism of that regarding Richard Wolff. Not even perfect. I think Richard Wolff does a good job for the most part explaining Marxist, especially to he a professor. Like it's an easy way for the professor.
That's what I think the person is talking against, Nick. That's what I think the comment. I think that's what they're referring to as lies the Marxist perspective.
This guy said Wolff is basically a sock dem. I have seen as someone who got a lot of communist friends, I have seen legitimate criticism of Richard Wolff. I still think he does decent work, but we don't worship anyone here. I'm not telling you guys to worship the guy.
Yeah, he is a sock dem. He is a sock dem.
Yeah. As of now, I just remember I was glad that Richard Wolff came out against mandates. And I was actually surprised when he did that. I was like, oh shit, look at Richard Wolff. And remember he went on Jimmy Dore show, he's like, yo, the workers never been for mandates. And it was important for him to say that because you had the boutique left that was saying, oh my God, it's just the Jimmy Dore left. It's just the grifters that are giving mandates, even though the ACLU and left organizations explain why it was anti-worker for years into the COVID pandemic. So then Richard Wolff is like reminded them that. So it was good for him to say that. Once again, he probably is just a sock dem. I never did really a critical analysis of Richard Wolff, to be honest. But
he can be good on one thing and not good on others. Like he can be good on examining capitalism and what should be done.
For sure,
That's great. But he can be bad on policing. I'm not saying he is. I'm just giving an example. He can be bad on policing or bad on something else. So people have to understand our backgrounds kind of determine, where we are politically. So if you're somebody at the bottom of the totem pole, that's why you might be far left on a bunch of different topics that other people aren't because they had a different experience.
Yeah.
So
go
ahead.
So I'm used to being like further left than most people. So I always assume most people to my right until proven otherwise. Like guys, you have no idea how dumbfounded I was running into Rome. Like when I first ran to Rome, I was like, what? Someone is further this nigga further left than me? What the fuck?
Yeah.
Like I was thinking like I'm the further leftist guy, hated the US empire. Never voted Democrat, Republican ever again. Wanted to destroy the rich. And now I'm into Rome, who's an unapologetic communist who cares about nothing other than mutual aid and organized. I'm like, yeah, let me pick that guy's brain. Instead of what most people do, they see people from the left and they immediately assume horseshoe theory. They have like an existential crisis because they view leftism as morality. So they're like, oh my God, how can this person be more moral than me? No, me, I saw Rome, I'm like, oh, that's the guy I want to talk to. And that's how we became friends. Thank you for $5, Steve. As of now, all we know is well above commercial traffic, like 60,000 feet. Our airspace stops at 60K. It wasn't even in our airspace, for fuck's sakes. I didn't even think about it like that. Very interesting. Resist the BS. Great chat, Steve. Thank you for $5, Andrew. This is a perfect example of information firewalls that we criticize China for doing with their citizens. Thank you for the super chat, Andrew. Thank you for the 499 Gina.
Wow, I didn't even see all of these.
Yeah, speaking as an aerospace engineer, balloons are one of the least effective modes of air travel. That's why, like, anyone who can use critical thinking, you see that Tucker Carlson video where they show it coming from China across the Pacific Ocean into Canada. So according to the Chinese government, and I don't know if it's true, but I know common sense and critical thinking skills. So according to the Chinese government, that was a civilian air balloon. It was a civilian project gone awry, right? So I'm not one of the people that automatically believes everything the Chinese government says. But what is more likely? This is how my mind works. What is more likely? That this is a civilian air balloon that they launched? It was a project that went awry, or the Chinese had a balloon that crossed the fucking Pacific Ocean because Xi is some sort of wind sorcerer, apparently, went through Canada and then traversed military operations in Montana and Missouri. Does that seem fucking rational? Not to me. Not to me. So not like I believe anything the Chinese government says, but to me, their story sounds more rational. It just that simple, right? But anyway, as they said, there is much better and stealthier way to spy. Well said. Thanks for the 999. The U.S.-led West keeps pushing the global South, who have the majority of the world's population and majority of the resources in the world into the arms of Russia and China. Long may continue. Great point. Which is funny. I think the other segment I want to do when they're talking about how China isolated themselves, I may do that at a Nick at Night segment, but it's the exact opposite. Like I've been CJ for the last year. I told you guys this story has been incredible to watch for me. I've been anticipating when the U.S. isolate themselves and lose the world, and it happened at a much faster rate than I thought.
Faster rate, the pandemic probably
just because of pure incompetence. Pure incompetence is what made it happen. So with that said, I think we're done with super chats. I think we're gonna update that tomorrow. Once again, I got to plan my schedule. I'll plan my streams around my roommates and everything. So if I can, I may do a double stream. But we may do Raw being live tomorrow, and I may do a coverage of the State of the Union because I saw that MSNBC was going to do a stream. We're gonna watch it live. I'm gonna break down the bullshit that he take live. I think that'd be fun.
That might be good. People would want to hear a different take than the milk toast.
Yeah, because most of the time, guys, I'll watch these things because I'm a nerd and I want to see my enemies. I'll watch State of the Union and I'll be fucking raging every single fucking one. I'm like, man, I really wish I could explain to people how they're lying. So I think we.
You know what, Nick? Now that you say it,
go ahead.
Now that you say it, I'm trying to think. Where's an audience like ours going to get any other critique like that? They're not going to get that on TYT. I've seen them cover.
Yeah,
they're not going to get that on Breaking Points. I've seen them cover State of the Union. They're really not going to get, and I don't think Jimmy will be live at that time, and I don't think Convo Couch maybe if Convo Couch goes live, but yeah, we probably need to have something go on.
And also, I want to do it today. State of the Union is a lot of normies will be watching, so it'd be a good opportunity to get people who are not part of our audience. They want to see State of the Union, but instead of seeing TYT coverage of it, they will see a radical coverage of it. Like, oh shit! So I think that'd be a good opportunity too. I think a good way to pull people to our side against the duopoly. It's as Marxists, we are supposed to expose the contradictions of capitalism, and we can do it by any means necessary. So I think that's one way we can do it. So anyway, we talked about more behind the scenes. Once again, it was kind of a thought before we went live today. So I think it's like 7:30 Central, something like that. We see. But anyways, that's all I have. CJ, I'll let you close this out. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
All right, Nick. We will be back tomorrow, everybody. Since having some internet trouble, we're just going to close out like this.